Good, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing? Back on the NLC channel. I'm Enix, as you can see below, with about 6 million different X's, and I'm joined for game one of tonight's stream by the one, the only Zathos. Zath, how's it going, man?
I'm feeling great, man. My first ever time on the NLC. It's been a long journey to get here, but it's so amazing to be here. And like you said before, your name's slightly longer than mine. I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah,
here.
slightly longer than normal, but you know, we roll with it. But yeah, it feels good that we're both making our debut on the NLC channel together. And we're going to be kicking off quite an exciting day of games. So on the docket for you all today, we've got Espegord versus Carolina, which will be the game one that we are going to take you through. Then we have 42 Gaming versus Lundqvist Lightside, and the day is going to be capped off with Blue Whites versus Munster Rugby Gaming. But Zath, we're only here for one, so we should probably focus on that, right? Let's break this down. Espegard versus Carolina. What should we expect?
So, this game is going to be slightly different from the K5 and Espegord you're used to, as the mid laner for K5 sadly could not make it today, so instead Thomas Go is going to be making his debut in the NLC Division 2, and on the opposite side of Espegord, they have a mid laner change as well, going from Composites to Forsland, and then their support of Sobak changing to Kralik. So, bit of a difference, and most importantly as well, we're actually going to be on live patch, which does mean a few nerfs are going to be coming in for some of the major champions. Emilio has a little bit of a nerf as well on his E and his base speed up. He also has a little bit of base healing reduced, while on Rel, just a little bit of her base armor. So maybe there'll be a small change in the bot lane, but mostly we should expect usually the same picks as well.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one tonight. 13-14, as you mentioned, as we are going to be getting into draft very, very shortly, guys. But 13-14 is the patch today. It has only just dropped today as well. So some competitive pioneering going on here, as we are now going to roll into draft. Espegord and Carolina getting things underway. What? The bans are invisible.
Well, invisible bands, new patch kind of seems like the perfect thing to do. But it's going to be interesting to see what bands will be coming out because, of course, the new patch. I'm still expecting both main AD carries of Zaya and something like the Kaiser to be coming out usually at the start. As can you tell what champion? I see a green.
I think I saw Draven and Thresh on the side of Espegord. I think I saw a Rel on the side of Carolina, maybe a Nautilus or a Maokai. We'll get those technical issues fixed for you very, very shortly, guys. This is what happens when we end up on the live servers. It is the backup to the backup if everything fails. So that's how we found our way here. But like you touched on, a couple of changes to some pretty meta-relevant champions coming into today. Obviously, the Rel and the Milio, both very, very prevalent, as we are going to jump back into draft. Zaya and Kaiser are the first two going to be picked up.
Yeah, that's what I was exactly talking about at the start, as the bans are going to actually be Draven, Thresh, and Kindred coming from Espegord. One, the opposite for K5, we're going to have Twitch, as we get the last two bans getting figured out for you. But Espegord, first three picks are going to be Saya, Gragas, Yasuo, and on the opposite for K5, Kaiser, Nico, and not sure yet on the third pick.
Yeah. So bans from the Carolina side, Twitch, Maokai, and I believe that third ban is a Rel. We are going to get that confirmed for you very, very shortly, guys. But Yasuo Gragas on the side of Espegord does pave the way for some team fights. We're going to see a Renekton picked up for Emperor on that top side.
We do know that Renekton is really good into something like Yasuo, because Yasuo always likes to dive around, try and be as slippery as possible. And with Renekton with an instant stun, not really possible. On top of that, K5 also do have the Nico with the big ultimate to maybe stop Espegord's great engage. Now, on the ban phase, I'm expecting probably Rakan to get banned away from Espegord.
I do think that is a Rakan. I can't quite tell, but
it looks like Rakan with the 2 pixels I see.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be fine. We will figure it out for you, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, it is Rakan. Now we can see slightly more of the picture. Interesting that they've gone with the Yasuo Gragas. We were talking a little bit backstage, and Diana has received buffs on 13-14. You will now also notice, for those eagle-eyed of you in the chat, you will see Neferi's icon up on draft log. She is not. Oh, they can't see it? Okay. Neferi not available, even though we are on 13-14. But it will be exciting to see that champion when we get her on the tournament realm.
Yeah, on the tournament realm, she's just so good at trying to assassinate people. I kind of see her a little bit like Talon, that just has a kit which is just go in and then try and get out as fast as possible. Luckily, we don't have to see it here, so there won't be too many shenanigans going on, as it feels like the draft pick itself is doing enough itself.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the second phase bans are Rakan, Nautilus, Malphite, and I think that's a Jace, would be my best guess as the final Espagord ban. Cassante is the final Espagord ban, I'm being told. But, you know, sometimes you got to take a shot in the dark. What are K5 going to pick up? It's going to be a Sion.
Sion actually being very good with this team comp because it gives them that side lane pressure.
But where is it going?
It should be top side, I believe, because Renekton can easily get paired into this mid lane.
And does that mean we're getting Nico in the jungle?
Nico can be possible in the jungle. We know how incredible she is when she is able to clone something, pretend to be it, and look for these very creative ganks. And more importantly, both of these teams having a few subs, we do know that they aren't going to be on their exact best game, meaning maybe Nico could find more opportunities to sneak around and find these picks.
Yeah, Alistar going to be picked up here for Espagord as well. Just another knock-up to chain with the Yasuo. The immediate deficiency, I mean, we'll call it a deficiency, that I'm noticing in this Espagord draft is a serious lack of range. Not that Carolina have massive amounts of range themselves, but the Nico with the Pot Blossom, with the Tangle Barbs, going to be able to do a lot of work as we see Ornn come through to round out this Espagord draft.
Yeah, very AP, deficient on the side of Espagord because Gragas instantly needs to go for AP. Otherwise, they're not really going to have enough. As on the opposite side for K5, picking up the Brawl, making it where Alistar's could have a little bit more of a tricky time trying to go in and get out with his team. As both teams are just very close range, this is going to be a very scrappy game.
Yeah, both of these teams wanting to get down and dirty in the brawls, in the skirmishes. And you know, I'm going to ask the question real quick, Zath. Have you had a rough day? Has it been busy? Because in this game, looking at these two drafts, you might get quite a bit of a break. I am looking forward to how scrappy this game is potentially going to look.
Yeah, to be honest, Edix, I feel like this is a game built for you. It's just going to be fight after fight after fight, especially with those level 6 marks of having the Alistar getting the Yasuo combo straight away afterwards. And even if Alistar doesn't do it, always have a Gragas. If not, Ornn Horn with the knockup afterwards from the E. There's just so many opportunities for this Yasuo to play the game he wants. But this is going to be difficult for them because if the Yasuo gets slightly behind, the whole entire side of Espagord's team fight is just completely gone.
Yeah, and I really like the pivot actually in the draft from Carolina to grab up the Renekton, see the Yasuo come through, instantly switch it into the mid lane to counter that pick. As you are now going to see the draft replayed on your screen. We're not going to have to guess any of the champions this time. We are going to see it all. And the story of these two teams actually coming into this series isn't something I think we really touched on. Espagord 2-5. Few struggles in the first half of their season, haven't quite rounded out their first 9 matches yet. Whereas Carolina, a bit of a surprise package.
Yeah, people weren't really expecting Carolina to be being, really near the top of the standings, being 8-4 respectively. Now, even with them having so many subs always coming in and out of their team, it just feels like behind the scenes, everybody truly understands what they need to do to win these games. And that's why they've had so much success compared to the side of Espagord, which has the more traditional, we play as 5, we're the only 5 players to ever be on the Rift together. It hasn't really been panning out for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, maybe this is the day they change their fortunes. Maybe all of the eggs in the composites basket comp is going to really come through for them, because you have to think going into this game with the amount of setup there is for a Yasuo in the team fights. If composites is able to go even with Coben in this mid lane, then they could take over. But you've got to think in the bot lane as well, Xayah, Vipers, whilst everyone on the side of Carolina is knocked up, is just going to be able to lay down those feathers, rip through with that blade caller, and decimate some health bars.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, but the more I'm thinking about Espergod's draft, the more I actually think it's just weaker and weaker, because you have an instant CC in the mid lane of something like the big croc, the Renekton, and did the jungler having just follow-up CC, even with a big ultimate with Bash on Nico, it means that if Yasuo is ever slightly out of position, gets stunned up, he's going to get bursted down before the Gragas can come in and help him. So it's going to really be a toss and turn before Espergod can really do much.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like these fights are going to come down a lot to whoever makes the engage, and whoever makes the initial engage is going to find themselves a massive advantage in these team fights. If you are able to find the knock-up onto the Renekton, onto the Nico, prevent them from getting these crucial abilities off to deny you in the fight, and burst them down before they can do anything, then you're really going to be having a good time of things as Espergod.
Yeah, and you have to remember, Espergod are kind of enjoying the team comp they're going into if they forget about the heavy CC in the mid-jungle duo, because everybody there, except for maybe Nico, is close ranged. Even Kai'Sa being a close range AD carry means if she slightly misstepped, Alistar's going to have an easy stun up, or even with the Ornhorn, if they're trying to stay slightly far back, able to start the team fight, have the rest of the team re-engage. It looks very good. So K5 needs to make sure to use that Braum as effectively as possible to create that front line from them. If he's not able to, difficult game for K5.
But even with an eco, I mean, they are still relatively short ranged. You do have to be pretty close to the enemy team to make that Pot Blossom work, to get the full effectiveness through from that ultimate. So, it's going to be a game of picks. It's going to be a game of vision. And whichever of these two teams can manage that better and kind of, stamp their own control, their own way of playing onto this game first, is going to really net themselves a massive advantage.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same with Drakes. They need to make sure that they are there first with their vision control, because you've never ever wanted to walk into an Alistar that is easily able just to knock you up with Yasuo straight on top of it. While on the opposite side, with K5, if you do have Braum that can create that vision zone for you, make sure that they can't walk into it, and even with something like Emperor, like Sion, that we haven't touched much on, he's just so tanky that he will be able to hopefully create that space for K5's carries to do their job.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it really is easy to gloss over the top lane in this matchup. I mean, we've seen the wet noodle fight of Ornn versus Sion I don't know how many times. At this point, it feels countless. But, I don't think we're going to be having much attention drawn up there in the early game here at all.
Yeah, so we're most likely expecting the junglers, because of that, to be focusing near towards this bot side. Most likely towards mid lane, to be honest, because of how important this Yasuo is. It just feels like all of Espergod is solidified around him. While K5, I'm expecting Nico to mostly be focusing around this bot side, because of Alistar not having a lot of escape tools to get himself out of any dangerous situations. So that's the way they could start getting themselves a big lead.
Yeah, I mean, it is really difficult to predict how this one is going to go. I feel like Cobban will have the early pressure in the mid lane on this Renekton into the Yasuo, and whether he can use that to move with Bash, get the early vision down, potentially look for the early roams. Obviously, wave timers were changed a few patches ago, so you do get punished slightly harder for roaming as a mid laner. But, maybe they can make that work. If they're netting themselves kills, then dropping the CS isn't going to be as much of an issue.
Well, let's hope that the CS is, not too big of an issue in this mid lane, because Yasuo, like you said before, is going to be getting pushed down this mid lane. And if we are ever thinking about Yasuo trying to make these roams happen with his team, trying to get those big team fight wins, it's going to be a lot harder when you're constantly pushed under your tower, just like your bot lane is. Because of the Braum into Alistar matchup, Kai'Sa will usually have priority over that lane. I mean, the Espergod, it's going to be hard to try and play this, or at least try and go for these early Drakes.
Yeah, well, you may see the countdown timer at the bottom of your screen now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be getting into game very, very shortly. It's kind of there.
See, it's so difficult. It's
kind of there. Yeah, I know. It always throws me every time on broadcast. But we will be getting an answer to some of these questions very, very soon. We will be seeing if there are any major changes in terms of itemization on 13-14 as well, because I may have read the champion patch notes. forgot to look at the items. So I don't know if anything has changed. I saw something about Triforce, but I don't think any of these champions build that item anyway. So we're about to get into game, guys. We will be underway with Espagord versus Carolina very, very shortly. And will Espagord be able to avenge their loss to Carolina from earlier in the season? That is the big question.
Well, it's a question that we are going to be finding out in just a second, as can't wait to see what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an exciting one. I don't know about you, and this might sound a bit weird, but I always find it really weird doing my research pre-game when the ranked season is just reset, because you're looking through and everybody is just unranked.
It's not even that, is everybody's just playing the champions that they are too scared to play on actual solo duo, so they're going to have some fun with. It's a bit like me trying to learn Neela, and I could not get that champion to work.
She's so much fun. And I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Nyla with Rel being such a prevalent pick as well, to be fair, because I feel like those two champions with the hard, like, let's fight, let's go in style will work really well together. So I'm surprised that since Rel's resurgence, we haven't seen more Nyla.
Yeah, I've learned that the itemization for Nyla has been a little bit subpar, I would have to say, because you always need to have around 1,300 gold to get a reset you're actually happy with. Otherwise, it is a little bit difficult, especially when she does want to go for these all-ins. It just feels like she isn't strong enough in this early game compared to something like Kai'Sa or Xayah, which always has agency, even at one item. Two, they're absolute monsters compared to Neela that needs to get towards those 3 or 4 items before she is this big powerhouse.
Yeah, fair enough. We will be getting into game very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Just a couple of little glitches behind the scenes. You know how it be when we have to be on the backup. It is fine. We'll be going very, very shortly. So, Zath, I've got to ask, there is one question I haven't asked yet. And it's my favorite question to ask as a play-by-play. If you turn off the nameplates, which of these 2 drafts do you prefer and why?
Well, if we're going for without nameplates, I think I would have to give it over to K5. And the main reason is they have just too many answers to what Espagord wants to do, especially with in the mid lane, having the Renekton constantly being able to push in the Yasuo, winning that 1v1 until around 2 items, which is around about 20 minutes into the game of just pure uncontested pressure in the mid lane. And on top of that, even in the 2v2 with the Gragas, they always have a Nico that can be there for the support, being able to win that 2v2. It's just so crucial in these high-level games. So 100%, K5 takes the wins for me.
Okay. It is interesting because your initial reaction of, with nameplates off makes me think that when you turn the nameplates on, you actually favor Espagord. So are you predicting an Espagord win in this one?
Well, I've always been an underdog person. I love it when teams who aren't meant to be winning do actually pick up a win. So why not? Espagord, I got your back. If you're able to win this, I'll have my little flag with you, even though I'm not meant to be biased or anything.
I do agree. I mean, everyone does love it when an underdog wins, but my heart is saying Espagord, but I'm going to have to go with my head, and my head today saying Carolina. Yeah, they've had a very good season so far, and I don't see why that would change now. We will be loading onto the Rift incredibly shortly. Have we got time for one final question? No, we're going to load straight onto the Rift. And a black screen. There we go. And we're straight into a pause.
Isn't this exactly what you wanted to have as your NLC debut?
I mean, hey man, look. If you can't cast the scuffed games, you don't deserve to cast the good games where everything works. That's my philosophy. That's what I'm going to stick to. We can power through this one.
We'll do it together, man. We'll
do it together. It'll be fine. So we touched on like the ranked reset a second ago. What do you think about them adding Emerald?
Emerald. Well, as a player who is D1 to Masters, it doesn't affect me, so I can be happy with my ranking. But overall, I think it's a great idea, mostly because of how congested it felt like Gold and Plat really were. And even with Silver, it just has a little bit of separation, then players can truly feel like they are in their ranks. The only small issue I have with it is for Smurf Q, when they're trying to, get higher and higher, you're meant to help them make it as quick as possible to stop them from ruining people's games who are actually in that elo. But except for that, I think it's a big enough win to take that one loss.
So I haven't done a massive amount of research in it. We will be getting back into the game very shortly, guys. I think the issues for the pause are being worked out. Whereabouts does Emerald slot in? Is it Gold, Emerald, Plat, or is it Plat, Emerald, Diamond?
I believe it's Plat, Emerald, Diamond, but I could be incorrect.
So not a rank that I'm ever going to reach. That's fine. As we do get into game, we are loading onto the Rift for game 1 of the day. Espegord versus Carolina, and we are going to see a potential early invade coming through from the Carolina bot side.
Yeah, they do have the Braum there, so if anybody dares try walk into them, it's going to be an easy kill, especially with their passive coming up. But I'm expecting not much to really be happening, as both top laners are just taking a look at each other, ready to bonk each other in around about 2 minutes.
Oh, are we going to get the early wet noodle fight? I thought they were going to like walk at each other then and trade auto attacks and like grass procs, and it was going to be really exciting. But no, not going to be treated to that one today. I do appreciate Emperor going with the Lumberjack Scion skin. Personally, my favorite.
He has a cull. What do you think is going to happen in this top side? It's literally going to be a farm mania until big team fights happen.
Yeah. Sure. That's how exciting top lane is going to be. I reckon. Oh, we are going to see some early action though.
Exciting.
Yeah, walking into the bot side, Stefan is going to be caught out, stunned up by that glacial passive, and Kai'Sa is the beneficiary. Floop's on the board already, and if you are Espegord, that is the worst way this game could start.
Yeah, great just play coming out from K5. Understanding if they go for a late engage, they know that Gragas wanted to start solo to allow the bot lane of Espegord to get some more pressure. Means free kill and puts the jungler behind. Meaning even in this mid 2v2 later on, there is going to be a little bit of a level lead for Bash, making it just that tad bit easier.
Yeah, Bash stealing away 2 camps on the bottom side from Stefan here. Gonna maybe look for the blue buff, then straight to his own top side to clear that one out and stop any potential counter, whilst Floops and Nodu with full pressure in this bot lane, knowing they've got the jungler in the area to back them up.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if Gragas is able to make something happen in this top side, trying to get at least something back. There is a good ward on the Raptor camp for Bash to know if he ever dares to try and go for something. So overall, just a good start for the jungler from K5 still.
Yeah, and some trading in the mid lane. Coben winning out on that one, getting the early level 3 on this Renekton with the Conqueror stacked up. He does pack one hell of a punch.
Yeah, Renekton's base stats are just absolutely insane, especially in the early game. That level 3 just shows just how powerful he is. Already chunking composites to half health. He does still have exhaust available, so not in kill range next time. But still, great play coming out from Coben.
But on the bright side for Espegord, there is a pressure point for them in the top side. Emperor being shoved under his tower by Elijah. But it is on into Scion at the end of the day. That's not really too much to shout about if that's your only winning lane.
I mean, this does benefit because Prince is able to spot out Bash, knowing exactly where he's going to be. So this allowed Stefan in the jungle to try and go for the Skull Crab in the bot side and maybe even look for a fight, because the wait for a little bit may be good for maybe looking for a gank.
Yeah, it is slowly pushing back over towards Carolina, though, so if they are going to pounce on this opportunity in the bot lane, they're going to need to go fairly shortly. Stefan looking at the mid lane, but not going to find it, so just settles for the Scuttle Crab in the bot lane river instead.
Yeah, it's actually been quite a quiet early game as bot lane.
Yeah, Sobak going on to Nodu, not going to make too much of a dent, though. That shield standing firm. And there goes the wave crashing under the bot lane tower as the Gragas arrives. So a little bit unfortunate on the timing there.
Yeah, I'm guessing Billy didn't have Q to try and go for the re-engage, because I think they could have looked for it. It's just topside, here's the wet noodle fight you wanted.
Yeah, Elijah dictating that one at the moment. The Ornn does have some pretty good base damages, especially with the brittle procs. But Floops and Nodu holding the wave at the tower in the bot lane. Cobban and Bash roaming together, and we talked about this one in the draft. If this Nico can be unlocked with the support of the Renekton, it could be very, very dangerous. And Espagord already forced into a very defensive setup.
Yeah, as you can just see the power that Cobban does have in this mid lane, because he constantly has priority for it. It allows Bash to just constantly look, as they even look in the mid lane now.
Yeah, looking to go again. Bash, though, takes quite the chunk back from Composites. The Tornado going to land on the backside as well. Stefan diving over, misses the knock-up. Just the slow to land.
Yeah, I'm really thinking this mid lane's going to blow up towards this level 6 mark. Composites and Sobak just need to try their best to just chill the game out a little bit, get your level 6, and most likely they're going to have to give up this dragon if they want to get it from
Oh, Emperor. First cast of the Ornhorn lands. Second one goes wide. Flash under the tower for Elijah. It is the Orn that claims first blood. Walks himself away as well. No emote flash, which is a touch disappointing, but the wet noodle fight is the first kill.
Yeah, as Emperor actually looks like he thought he was going to be safe, not thinking that level 6 was going to come out from Elijah, but just a little bit unlucky of that. Does mean he's going to get taken out. Teleport was available for him and has just been used, so only a kill is going to be over. The CS is going to stay about the same.
But if there was a lane that it was going to go a bit wrong for you on the side of K5, you were going to fall a bit farther behind. You'd probably want it to be this top lane matchup. The Scion with a Cull will start to equalize that gold as this game does continue. And all he's there to do is to become a brick wall anyway.
Yeah, and more importantly, level 6 marks have finally been reached towards this mid lane, meaning that Composites is going to be a little bit stronger in this 1v1, being able to use the ultimate whenever he needs to.
Yeah, trading quite evenly there, actually. Composites even winning out slightly with that shield. Emperor caught out in the river. I say caught out. Stefan pours some alcohol on him and nothing really comes of it. The Scion now turning it around with a lot of damage. Composites in the area, but Emperor dropping the knock-up onto 2, though. Cobban flashing forward, diving forward with that slice, and Dice and Dominus finds 1. Composites is going to trade 1 back, but he will fall to the Scion. Emperor picks that one up. 2 for 1 in the mid lane.
Yeah, or not being able to join the fight because he needed to push it out from his reset before. And that fight just didn't go right because of the early game pressure they put onto Stefan, meaning the level 6 wasn't up and available. Means that they just didn't have the damage. Great flash in from Cobban. So they win the fight, and now they can even pick up a dragon from it.
Yeah, netting themselves these objectives. It's not about how many kills you get. It's about what you do when you get any kills. Elijah, whilst he is running this top side, is not really making that much of a mark on the rest of the map.
Yeah, because if you take a look at the gold between the two players in the top side, you can see there's not even that much of a difference. Only 600 gold onto 2 tanks. That's not even enough to get yourself at full boots. So it's going kind of evil, going even, as Elijah is going to look for a reset here.
Yeah, and when you think about it as well, when that Cull pops in 57 creeps time for Emperor, that gold difference, assuming it stays the same between now and then, will be cut in half.
Yeah, most likely going to be cut in half, as Riftheld is actually going to be spawning in the next minute or so. It's looking like Gragas may be looking for it as he is near the top side. I don't think the side of K5 really want to contest this.
No, potentially not. That is a Nico running through the jungle. I was looking for the champion icon on the minimap and I got a little bit confused. I've not seen a lot of Nico because she's been permabanned for so long. Elijah calls in the Forge God to clear out the wave, potentially looking onto Emperor with Stefan here. Does have the big bomber ready and waiting. Finds the knock-up with the body slam. Emperor under threat, a bit weakened. Composites now here as well. Does have the last breath. Not going to need to use it as they are going to find the Scion. Kill goes over to Elijah, which probably isn't where you want it.
Yeah, you wanted the kill to go over the Composites, but unluckily for them, it doesn't go over. But this does mean that a little bit of pressure is going to be alleviated from this top side, meaning that Elijah will be able to pick up a few more tower play to be a little bit more tanky for these team fights.
Yeah, grabbing that Sunfire Cape already. 9 minutes for the first item on the Ornn is pretty quick. Yeah,
good poke damage coming out onto Vespers, making it a little bit difficult to play this fight. As Bash, because he saw the enemy jungler of Stefan in the top side, it's just taken away all of his camps.
Yeah, Bash doing the counter jungling incredibly well, as we are going to see a potential counter dive setup here from K5. as they're going to look. They find the Pot Blossom onto just Sobak. The level 5 Alistar cannot break through from the stun. Composite's going to find Floops, though, on the backside of this player now. Vespers is the next to fall, 1-for-1 so far on the fight. Nodu knocked up, not going to be followed up on. Composites not having the last breath available is just going to run away through the tower. Dominus going to tick away for Cobbin. He's slicing, he's dicing, but he's not quite got enough. Bash picks up Sobak on the backside of the fight, and now the mid laners going to continue to just play a little game of chase as Composites is going to get caught.
I don't think you noticed what Yasuo was actually trying there. He was trying to go through that wall with his E, but Cobbin with the perfect stun means that it wasn't even available for him because he just stopped him right in his tracks. So small play, but incredibly well played from Cobbin.
Yeah, and I mean, the right idea from Composites to look for it, for sure. But yeah, like you say, really, really nicely countered from the Carolina mid laner, as we are going to get a quick replay.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what's happening in this replay as it's taken a little bit of time to load for us. I'm expecting it to be probably the fight that happened in towards this bot side. As, yeah, it's looking like it wasn't working exactly as we want to.
Popping back into live, and it's just a minion clearing fiesta.
Yeah, nothing too special is going to come from that. But if we quickly take a little bit look back at how this game is going overall, there is actually a 2k gold lead going over to the side of K5. It is mostly onto the mid laner and jungler, as there is a 1.3k gold lead in the jungle, respectively, in K5.
Ooh, and Cromp's running into the mid lane, but it's actually Bash. A nice wind wall blocks off the route, and Composites will be able to get himself out completely safely.
Yeah, good wind wall there means the Bash wasn't able to get the second CC. Stefan was there as well for the safety, just in case, having his ultimate. So he was able to try and go for that re-engage. As this bot lane's actually been quite peaceful compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting to see early fighting around the mid lane, which we've got, and then transitioning that mid lane fight to whichever team gets the lead to look for a lot of early fighting around the mid lane. But we may see something. No, Sobak just trying to apply some pressure with the Hex Flash there.
Yeah, that wouldn't have actually been too bad for Sobak, but because Vespers was trying to pick up the Crux to get a little bit more gold into his pocket, Sobak, that wasn't the decision to make. And most importantly, in this bot side, it's all really been going down to his weight mid lane. Stefan's just looking, nothing will come over.
Bash, he's gonna transform, does have the Pot Blossom available, and the Wolf scurries into the bush and is going to get spotted out. Cobbin diving forward though. Composites and Stefan going to look here. The exhaust goes down. Knockup comes through. No last breath to come through though from the stun. It will come through off the bomber. Cobbin running away, flashing over the wall. Dominus is ticking, but he has support now of Bash and Billy. And Bash flashes forward, blocked off by the wind wall. Composites going to get himself just tags that one on the backside. Cobbin finds Stefan as well.
Yeah, nice Q coming out on Bash, meaning they are able to pick up the kill onto the Yasuo and onto the Gregors just before that. And it just feels like they don't have enough damage. Only having a Vamp set up and a little bit of damage on the Composites just isn't enough to get through a full tanky Renekton who already finished his Gold Drinker.
Yeah, and the healing coming through from that Gore Drinker, the healing coming through from the Cull, the Meek as well, proving too much. Cobbin extending that health bar just to the point of survival. Elijah and Emperor, the wet noodle fight continues. What more is there to say? And the rest of the map falling to the wayside a bit for Espagod, as we're going to get a replay here of this fight. Really nice stun there from Cobbin. Going to deny the initial last breath. Gore Drinker healing onto 2 as well. And he's just got so much more HP to play with.
Yeah, no, well played from Composites to really understand that they can't do anything more, knowing when to really back off. And then Prince Elijah, right at the end, was trying to join in, trying to help the fight, but just too little too late. And I feel like that's kind of been the story for Elijah this whole entire game. He's been able to win these one-on-ones in the top side, but whenever there's big team fights, he's always just a step behind where Emperor is.
Yeah, and that can make all the difference. You can get all of the advantage. Oh, as we're going to see another catching fight. Vespers gets caught out. Big root from the Featherstorm, though. Should get them to safety. The killer instinct forward from Floops means he will find one. Potentially no. Yes, does manage to pick up the Xayah, as now Sobak on the retreat. The Cask going to knock 2 up, though. Forge God as well comes through, and it's the Wombo combo in the bot side jungle. Billy going to fall. Cobbin now under threat. Does find the stun onto Composites. And can they get out without loss? They're just about going to manage it.
Yeah, and I feel like Elijah kind of took it to heart, making sure that he was there for the team exactly when he needed to with a great Ornhorn. But overall, Espagord going with a little bit of a fight back as there was a bit of an overextension from K5.
But is that a double kill for the Ornn now? So 4-0-0 for Elijah?
Yeah, it's looking really powerful, but the problem is if all your damage is coming out from an Ornn and he's building full tank, it's going to be very difficult to take these fights, because how is he ever meant to get through Emperor even though he does have 4 kills over him?
Hey man, you should know by now, it doesn't matter what Ornn builds, he's the ranged melee tanky DPS assassin.
I forgot.
Emperor teleporting into the bot lane, trying to deny this tower from Elijah, but the objective bounty will be claimed, and Emperor gonna be fighting for his life now. Elijah has the Jack Show, has the Sunfire Cape, and he is chunking through this Scion with surprising ease.
Yeah, you talked about DPS, and Elijah's really dealing some here.
Look at it, man. Like, it feels like Elijah's health bar hasn't moved. His Composite's going to get Dover now in the top lane. 3v1 on to Cobbin. Can they find the kill? Knockups come through. Last Breath comes through. Bash looks for the Pop Blossom and will find it onto 3, but it's not going to be enough. Does have the bot lane up with him now in support, but can they look for a re-engage with all the big cooldowns blown? The knockup lands onto 2 as Vizpers joins the fight, but he's going to be caught out on his own. The Xayah not really able to do anything. Flash forward from Stefan, can't find Floops, and the Gragas will fall. No knockup for Composites, and it's a triple for the Nico. Maybe a quadra, and it will.
A quadra going over to Bash. Great play coming out from him, and it was looking so good from the side of Espagord halfway through that
Elijah
fight.
died?
Huh?
Was Elijah trying to proxy farm, or did he dive Emperor?
I feel like if it's an Ornn, that was definitely trying to dive a Scion as an Ornn.
Why? And we're going to get a replay of it. Here was the action in the bot lane. It was a dive. Really nice knockups chained there from Emperor. Elijah, the grasp, not quite enough to pick him up.
No, it's actually really well played coming out from Emperor. Understanding to hold the Q just a slight bit longer, meaning that the W from Prince Elijah isn't actually going to stop the CC coming out from him, meaning that he's just going to be able to instantly die to the tower afterwards. So it's kind of an outplay from Emperor.
I mean, all I'm saying, if I'm bashing that situation, I'm going straight to all chat and asking for 9 times on my top laner for stealing my Penta. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, if I was in Bash's situation being 7-0, I don't think I'd really complain too much myself. As in that top fight, it really just came down to, it just didn't feel like Espagord were on the same page, as Vizpers was going in while the rest of the team needed around about 5 seconds longer to re-engage. And because he's like this ADC that could just instantly get bursted out, after he dies and the team re-engages, the damage just isn't there to win the fight.
Yeah, exactly. And with all of the cooldowns being blown on to Cobbin as well, there was nothing left in the tank. Lots of good knockups there were landed in that follow-up fight, but there was no last breath to capitalize. We're going to see the Forge God called. Lands onto 2, but they're not massively important, but a massive double knockup, and Bash is instantly deleted. Cobbin now diving forward with the Dominus running, slicing, dicing, and oh my god, the healing. Featherstorm comes through, and the feathers do find a lot of roots, but it's not looking like enough. Carolina with too much health, too much damage. Elijah finds another one, and Composites doing what he can, but it's the solo lane duo of Espagord to walk away. Can they find any more as Floops flashing forward onto the Ornn? Knockup not going to come through. Elijah keeping himself alive as Composites may not be able to survive here. Is going to heal up off the Scuttle Crab and now trying to do what he can onto Emperor. Trade of knockups in the Hex Gate. Going to carry him into the waiting arms of Floops. Can he find anything? No. And now Elijah under threat. The red buff burning away. Elijah has a tower, but Floops is pretty strong. He's going to turn it around and not quite find the Kaiser.
Yeah, it's just a smidge of killing that, but this should kind of be free from the side of K5 on this Drake. However, Stefan has come up and is up and available for the Dragon. That fight went so long that people were able to die and respawn before the Dragon was even taken.
Yeah, and now Stefan under threat again from Bash. And we could just see this kick off all over again. I mean, that fight was a good, like, what, 30 seconds? And with the Hex Gates, you have so much of an easier time to get yourself back out onto the map.
Yeah, but I feel like Espagord should kind of give this up. They should be happy to even go even in that last fight. So they are 3k gold behind as Bash does spot out the support, but he is actually going to reset. But last fight, if you really have to give it down to Cobbin, he clutched up so hard, especially when Bash was instantly able to get taken out.
Yeah, we're going to see the dragon contested. We are going to see the dragon contested here. Stefan looking over the wall is going to dive in, finds the steal with the smite. Really nicely executed. No way out, though. So the Gragas gives his life, but it does prevent the soul stacking. Buys his team another 5 minutes of scaling. And the gold lead is only 4,000. So now that they've bought themselves another 5 minutes, that gold lead will gradually fade away into relative insignificance.
Yeah, and more importantly for Espagod, because they were able to pick up that first strike, that does allow him to do exactly what you said, of being able to just scale up and not really worry too much. But most importantly, a lot of their CS's wait, Bash.
Oh, the headbutt pulverize not quite going to land there from Sobak. Bash able to walk away, and Sobak, stunned up in the jungle, is going to survive with the Unbreakable Will, but another big team fight cooldown is burned.
And it's not going to be up, meaning that this should just be a free bot tower coming out from them. Yeah. As you can just see K5 just pushing their lead, trying to clear out all these wards, gain the vision they need, try and look for some more towers.
Yeah, Carolina with their foot now firmly on the accelerator. They've got a lead. They're a bit annoyed probably about losing that dragon. So now they're wanting to make Espagod pay. Baron is now on the Rift. I don't expect to see an early Baron, but we see how this fight goes as Emperor charging forward onto Composites. Will find the knock-up. Dash forward from Flukes with that killer instinct. Going to get knocked away, though, by the cask. Big damage going to be coming through from Vispers with the Featherstorm, and a massive knock-up lands onto 3 in the middle of the fight. It's going to be Cobbin to fall first, but a 4-man Pop Blossom lands, and Bash starts to take over. Stefan and Elijah, though, in the backline. They're cleaning up for Espagod. 4 kills so far, a triple for the Gragas. Make it a quadra, no. Vispers with that one, but 3 survive for Espagod, 5 for 2 on the fight.
Yeah, this should just be a free Baron up and available from the side of Espagod. And that fight really didn't look good at the start because Yasuo was only able to get onto Cobbin, was able to get onto this big tank.
Let's have a closer look, because look at Composites. He's getting bursted down pretty effectively. The knockaway there is from Stefan is nice, but it's this knock-up from Elijah that catches, what, 3, 4 people?
3 people. But
into the last breath.
Stefan afterwards being able to instantly go onto the big carries because he will try and go over this wall, flashing forward, getting 1, getting 2, killing Bash straight away afterwards, already on the triple kill, and now Vispers only getting annoyed by this Scion because he doesn't do enough damage in the team fight, does mean that it's just a free win for Espagod, getting themselves straight back into this game.
Yeah, and picking themselves up a Baron while we were in that replay, so the gold lead down to just over 2k, and we've got a game on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen.
Game on our hands we do.
Tower falling in the top lane for Cobbin, gonna mitigate the gold lead closing quite so much. But with Espagod now decked out in purple for the next 2 minutes, what are you looking to achieve if you are of an Espagod persuasion?
Well, if I was on the side of Espagod, I would definitely look towards this mid tower, trying to open up this map just a little bit more, and then get your vision lead, and then from there, try and get some of these second tier towers. But we're going to have to see if they're able to do this, because Bash does have a lot of poke damage, Kaiser does have a lot of wave clear themselves, so it's going to be a difficult one to do.
Yeah, I guess this Baron is kind of, you know, an equalizing and stabilizing Baron, where they're just going to sit, maybe use a cannon or 2 to push down some towers as they are setting up with this Baron-empowered cannon in the mid lane. And just look to kind of maintain the gold lead and scale. It is a minute 20 till the next Drake. Will be another Hex Tech, as we're going to see a potential flank here coming through from Sobak. He Hex flashes under the tower, knock up onto 1, but Bash with a massive Pop Blossom onto 4 is going to tear through the fight for Carolina, and a Composite's going to fall, and I imagine the rest of Espagod will be quick to follow. Sobak taken out in the backside by Floops. Elijah gonna fall, and Zaya is the only survivor.
Yeah, he may not even be the only survivor, but the flash from Billy means that he wasn't able to hit the Q, so they aren't able to pick up the last kill. But a great play coming out from Bash. I can't even say more, as Vispa still in a bit of danger.
Yeah, Cobbin and Billy on the hunt. Going to be trying to find this Zaya as the base is being breached. I don't think Carolina can end from this, but an inhibitor definitely on the cards. Billy under fire, but it's not going to be enough. The Zaya is going to fall. It is going to be an ace.
Yeah, wasting a whole lot of time on Visper does mean that for the next dragon, he isn't going to be up and available. So should be a free third soul coming out from the side of K5. But that team fight, the way that Bash was able to find 4 members of Espagod just completely ruined their whole entire chances of trying to stabilize this game. Because now the gold lead has got itself up to that 6k mark, just showing how important that last team fight was for the team.
Yeah. We are going to see ornaments start to come through now. However, we do have double upgraded Jackshow, and it is actually Jackshow Yasuo. I don't know if that is common. I'm not particularly familiar with Yasuo builds.
Well, Jackshow just allows him to be a little bit tankier, because the biggest issue the Yasuo is having in this game is trying to get bursted before he can really do anything. But now he should hopefully be tanky enough, allowing him to survive this instant burst and start to really deal his damage. Because afterwards, there's not really much that the side of K5 can do when the healing does start coming out from him.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he is able to navigate these team fights now with that picked up. Espagod electing to give away the dragon, not wanting to fall any further behind due to team fight selection. And I would argue that's quite a sensible one for them to give that one up, to be honest. Not really feeling too great fighting your way out of a 6,000 gold hole.
Yeah, especially when your AD carry is a whole entire item down compared to their person on the enemy team. And even in the mid lane, being half an item down, same with the jungler as well. It's looking a little bit dire from the side of Espagod. The only benefit they do have is having an ult, which is so good at this late game, being able to give everybody their ornaments. And on top of that, having a slight lead onto the sign as well.
Yeah, this Ornn could prove crucial. We've seen some big Forge Gods from Elijah so far this game, and it feels like we're going to need something special. Maybe not necessarily from the Ornn, but from one of these Espagod members. Sobak takes a big chunk from Bashes. They're going to threaten on the bot lane. Nothing's going to come of it.
Can't really engage onto the support there, to be honest. Going to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah. And at this point, it doesn't actually matter if Elijah has the lead over Emperor, because they both have, what, 5,000 HP each? So neither of them are getting a solo kill, because they both have so much health and so many resistances.
Yeah, but the side of K5, their main carries just clearly have more damage. Because Bash and Floops are just dealing so much poke damage, and because of this, people are having to reset, allowing Common to get a little bit of a chip in this mid lane inhibitor. Yeah,
this AP on-hit Kai'Sa build that has been really predominant in professional play for the last what feels like 5 months almost is really, really oppressive to play into, especially when she is on the sieging team. Bash gonna get locked up though. Composites dives forward with the last breath. Pop Blossom is forced, as well as the stopwatch, but Bash is gonna fall on the shutdown collected by Vespers.
Yeah, Stefan getting a good Zhonya's there, allowing them to find the kill onto Bash. And this is quite important for them because he will not be up and available for 40 seconds. I mean, the Baron will be up in that time, so they could try and look for it.
Yeah, Baron definitely on the cards here for Espagod if they choose to look for it. Will be difficult still, even though Carolina are a man down, even though that should, on paper, equalize the gold. It will still be a risky fight to take, with Floops raining the Acathian rain down. As Elijah going to get stunned up in the mid lane. It's just the front line of Carolina so far. And the Ornn does not take too much damage there. Baron has been started up as Elijah continuing to kite back towards his team. The Baron is now spotted, but it will fall. I don't think Carolina contested. Big knock-up from Sobak into 3 men on the last breath. Objective bounty claimed, 1 kill claimed on the fight as well. Floops knocked around, bounced around, taken down. Coven going to be able to escape, but Emperor will fall. It's in the drawn-out play 4 for 1 plus a Baron.
Yeah, Espagod just knowing that they could turn that fight because Elijah was just tanking up for so long, and then the re-engage coming out of the on-horn composite, picking up 2 with his ultimate on the Yasuo does mean they were able to win that fight, and now they're barreling towards this mid lane tower. Could maybe even look for an inhibitor, as only Cobbin and Bash are up for the side of K5.
There is another wave on the way in, but I would actually like a rotation into the top lane here, potentially supporting Elijah, but this game is playing out almost exactly as we thought it would in the draft, as Cobbin going to get jumped on. Last breath again, Yasuo ultimate on such a low cooldown. As Cobbin goes gold and will be blown up by the Ornn on the top side. Bash now in the area with Billy and Floops, but they're going to catch the Nico out, and Vizpers finds another, and Espagod with the momentum here, snowballing, kill into kill into kill. Could they potentially look for an end in the 5v3?
Yeah, they can look for the end here. It's all down to Floops. Is he able to clear this wave before they come in? It's going to be so difficult.
I like the headbutt there from Sobak. Gonna stop Emperor from clearing out that wave with the knockup from Floops. He is tagged. About a third of his health is gone, but we're gonna see the engage now. Stefan falls over to Emperor. Composites diving forward. Floops on the fountain. Knockup is gonna land onto him, and it's just Floops alive. Emperor falls, and they're gonna play for space. And they have a minion wave coming in. Vispa's just about survives the Ornn and will actually find Composites.
They will actually survive another day, as all members are going to be leaving on the side of Espagord, as Yasuo will not be up for 40 seconds. Yeah. Dragon will spawn in the next 2. So it's going to be difficult for Espagord to try and be picking up this Drake, especially when it is going to be the sole over to K5 if they take this.
Espagord, though, do find themselves with a gold lead for the first time this game. A lot of kills, a lot of towers picked up, but K5 starting up the Dragon on spawn, as you mentioned. Stefan not going to be in the area. They're not really going to be able to steal this one, pending a miracle, and no, it does not come through. Hextech Soul for Carolina, and that Kai'Sa poke just got a whole lot scarier.
Yeah, now we need to think about what this will change about the game, because it's still in a pretty bad position for K5, already losing one inhibitor, having the middle inhibitor up and alive for your team, as Stefan...
It is on about 7 HP, though, that mid lane inhib.
But that is quite important. It is still up and available for K5 to try and defend, as it's held up a little bit.
Maybe a bit more than 7. But
yeah, held up a little bit since last time. But they just need to try and push out this bot wave and try and keep pressuring them. But trying to look for a fight yet again, because now the fight's got so much more difficult.
Yeah, 100%. And let's just step back a minute. Let's take a look at this game from a bit of a wider perspective in the holistic look of the season. We touched on before, K5 challenging at the top. 8-4 is the current win-loss. Espagord struggling to kind of kickstart their season. 2-5 so far, down towards the bottom. And if we look at the standings, everyone from 3rd down to 10th is separated by a measly 3 wins. So Espagord being able to take a game off the current second place team could really do them the world of good in terms of catapulting themselves up the table towards a potential playoff spot.
Yeah, because most importantly for these teams, they need to make sure to be in the top 6 to get themselves into those playoff spots. With now are 10 teams, so you only need to be in the top half. You get 3 more wins on Espagord, and they're going to be even, getting themselves at least into the top 5 position. While on the opposite side of K5, if they do lose this game and go 8-5, that starts drawing themselves back into the pack. And that's really what they don't want. They want to try and solidify their place at the top of the standings.
I mean, as K5, you do have a 3-win cushion over the chasing pack, because I guess that's how we're referring to the bottom 8 teams now, just as the chasing pack. So you don't feel too bad for taking a defeat today, but obviously you would like to move to that 9-win mark. It does just give you that little bit of extra safety, as we are going to see another tower fall over for Espagord.
Yeah, more gold into their pockets going to be very useful, because a lot of the players have finally got all their Ornn items. So Ornn has done a very good job shopping around, picking the perfect items for them, as they still haven't got full builds compared to the opposite side of K5, where they're looking a little bit stronger on the jungler side, having 4 items completed, going over to that 5 soon, but instead making sure that they have their control wards to try and get this game a little bit back in their hands.
Yeah, and we look at the timers on the objectives at the top of your screens. It is Baron in 50 seconds, Elder Dragon in about 3 minutes, and one of these objectives could be the defining moment in this game that swings the pendulum finally to one team's side. Espagord setting up for the Baron right now.
It's going to be difficult for K5 to walk in here. There's just so much CC coming out from Espagord if they slightly walk too far. And most importantly, even after Baron spawn, it's only 2.5 minutes until this Elder Drake does get up and started. And if either of these teams takes it, I feel like that's how the game's going to end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't see this Baron dying on spawn. So I think those timers will just gradually inch that little bit closer, and we know what happens if you do secure the double uber buffs.
Yeah, and the biggest issue coming out from Espagord is they don't really have a way to kill this Yasuo anymore. He does have himself the Guardian Angel, does have himself the Jack Shield to be just a little bit more tankier. They're going to have to throw everything in the kitchen sink at him. But if they do that, they also have to worry about Azai on the backline, just being able to just tear through him.
Struggling to kill the Yasuo, they're going to be struggling to kill Elijah. We saw how much damage just landed there, and a mere scratch to his health bar as the Baron now to be started up by Espagord. Carolina going to look to move in. Bash flanking around the side of the pit, is disguised, is the Braum. Flashes over with the Pop Blossom, only finds one. Stopwatch from Stefan is huge, but it's stolen by Carolina. They are going to find one, but a massive knock up on the backline is not going to find any kills yet. Elijah finds one. Bash the first to fall. Coven going to follow his jungler very, very quickly, and Emperor falls as well. It's 3 for 0 in the team fight. Floops and Nodu, the only survivors. Can they be the heroes that Carolina need?
Remember, 40 seconds until anybody on the side of K5 is going to be up, except for the bot side. It's going to be a 2 versus 5. Hard to play, but Floops, if he can do this, he'll solidify his name into history for K5.
Yeah, big damage there on to Stefan. These Void Seekers really starting to hurt. We touched on the Hextech Soul when it was picked up. It is a full build Kai'Sa now. So Floop's just going to be trying to rain down hell where he can. Even Sobak struggling to take one of those W's. Elijah and Composite's going to have to be the bodyguards for the rest of their team for the minion waves. The cask does connect, and Composite's diving onto Floops, forces into the stopwatches as Kai'Sa will pick one up. Floops going to look to find a double, and will. They've dissuaded the attempt for now. It's now a case of, can Espagord survive? Viz was forced into the GA, and now it's only Elijah standing.
Look at the teleports.
Into the mid lane.
They can look for the end here.
Yeah, Espagord with a bit of an overforce here. Could have just collected the inhibitors and left, but instead they may be missing their entire base.
Yeah, it's on against
minutes.
the absolute world. He's the only person who can really stop that. They do not have Baron up and available.
They've got a wave, though. Forge God is called. Dominus is thrown down. Knockups are going to land, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. There are minions in the base. They are going to fall, and the backdoor bonus will activate, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Sobak up now, but there's another 10 seconds before any of the carries are going to spawn. Floops diving forward with the Killer Instinct is going to secure the victory for his team, and Carolina, in a slobber knocker of a game, are going to take the victory.
What a game coming out for both teams. I'm not sure if I should be proud of K5 for winning that or be upset with how Espagord threw away the free win they had near the end there, because it was a good idea, trying to go for the end, trying to finish this off before the Elder even started, but they just went a little bit too far, trying to look for Floops underneath the tower itself. So K5, after getting one kill, were actually able to pick off Zyra as well, and when all your damage is down, your base is just going to crumble afterwards, and that's exactly what happened to Espagord. Unlucky game, but they do take the loss.
Yeah, a really unfortunate defeat there for Espagord. Had the win in their grasp, but were so very, very close. And you've got to take some encouragement from that, right, going forward. But at the end of the day, it is another one in the loss column. Carolina moved to 9-4, Espagord to 2-6. And I believe we're going to be wrapping up this game one very shortly. So have you got any closing thoughts on that game, Zath?
Well, closing thoughts is just Espagord. If you are a fan of theirs, it's so disappointing to see right at the end. It's there, but you're just not able to get it. But most importantly, what a big change. 2-5 and beating the team who's not beating, but coming super close.
It was such a close game. They may as well have won, right? I mean,
yeah, it's super good for this team to have this boost of confidence, even if they didn't win, to know that they can compete against the best. Because the only other team that is better than K5 in a very clear manner is Venom Crest. And except for them, everybody else in this division is very much beatable for this team.
Yeah, but Venom Crest look a class above, I think, is the best way to describe them. Venom Crest are in NLC Division 1.5.
It feels like it. The
rest of the 9 teams in here are Division 2, and then there's obviously Division 1 up above. But we will see going forward. And before we cut to break and before we end our NLC Div 2 debut, do you want to have a little bit of fun and try and predict the other 2 games that are going on today?
Okay, I'm ready to have a little bit of a prediction spree. Give me the games. I'll tell you who's gonna win.
You got 42 Gaming versus Lundqvist Lightside, which is up.
I'll have to give it to Lightside. I think they're gonna take it.
Okay, I personally I would have to agree. I also think Lightside are going to take that one. And then to round out the day, game number 3, it is Blue Whites versus Munster Rugby Gaming.
Those are actually two teams I have not had the pleasure to cast yet, but I'd have to give it to Munster Rugby Gaming for me.
Okay, I've seen what Blue Whites can do. I know too well what that team can pull out, and you know I can't go the same as you for both of the last 2 games.
Got to change.
I'm gonna call Blue Whites just to keep it interesting. And you know I got game 1 right, so go me.
I almost did. All right, Esmagod kind of threw the towel in near the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they keep playing like that, you do not imagine that they will end the season with only 2 wins. You have to imagine they will further increase their record, and it will be exciting to watch them do so.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
If we are ready, I think we're going to send it off to a break. That is going to be everything for today from myself and Zathos. Thank you very much to the NLC for having us.
Been a pleasure.
Hopefully we'll be back soon, but you're not going to want to go anywhere, guys. 42 Gaming versus Lightside on the other side after the break. So don't touch that browser.
See you guys soon.
and welcome back over to NLC Division 2 this time around. NLC Division 1 has already finished their season, but we're still on it. With me joining is Bloxa. Welcome to the game 2 of today.
Oh, awesome. Right. We've had a couple of technical difficulties. Sorry for the long delay between the two games, but we are here and we are ready to go. MRG and Blue Whites. This is the return of Munster. They've been on hiatus for the past 3 weeks, so we've not seen this team. They've played quite a few less games than a lot of other teams. Blue Whites, they played a lot of games. They haven't been winning too many, though, so it's going to be a really interesting matchup.
An important one. The middle of the pack teams are super close to the 50% win rate mark. Blue Whites 5-7 at the moment, still trying to secure the positive win rate, while Munster hasn't played too many games, so I'm not sure how many scrims they've gotten in or how much they've had to prepare on 13.13, and every single game will matter because one of these middle of the pack teams will get eliminated from playoffs.
You can't have all of them in here right now. Top 6, onwards to playoffs. The bottom 2 teams in the league seem to be pretty set at this point. There's not really too much fighting going on down at the very bottom of the table. But like you said, that middle of the pack is an absolute scrapper right now. MRG are also in a really interesting position where they have lost 3 games, won 4 of them. And those 3 games they've lost is one of those to Venom Crest, which... it's losing to Venom Crest, you know, whatever at this point. Venom Crest kind of just roll through people, even if the games are a little bit close. They're currently sat at 11-0. This team is nuts. The other loss, Carolina 5, like, that was an FF. Munster just couldn't get their players ready to go, so they couldn't play. That doesn't tell us anything, so we've only got one actual real loss right here to be able to count, to be able to look at. The other ones, those 4 victories, are just straight up 4 wins for Munster. So as far as I'm concerned, they still look like a pretty decent team, but they've really got to start showing it now. Now that they're back from that break that they've had, they need to really turn it on and show us that, you know, those 4 wins aren't flukes and those 3 losses are just little things that happened, things going wrong, and Venom Crest being Venom Crest.
Yeah, and with this match now, Munster will be fielding their full roster against Blue White's full roster. We've seen a bunch of substitutions. Even in the previous game, we had a couple. Of course, always unfortunate, but with these full power rosters, we get to see if Munster can keep up the consistency. As you were talking about the losses, they have been slightly unfortunate. But Blue Whites still swinging out strong, almost taking down Venom Crest with MKR on a huge performance, getting a 1 versus 4 quadra kill on a Samira, adding another 80 carry to the pool that may be target banned from him, facing heavy focus from the enemy teams whenever he's on the Rift. But along with that, Blue Whites has been finding some sort of an identity with Bobas getting these more dualistic type junglers, even bringing out Trundle last time against 42.
It really has been Blue Whites trying to play around this bottom side through that jungle. Bobas been pulling out, like you said, a lot of the more interesting picks that we've seen, because we've had a lot of Maokai and a lot of Sejuani, and all of a sudden to get things more like the Jarvan, the Trundle, those duelists is really good to see just for the enjoyment of the league and the way that it's just been working out right here for Blue Whites. They have played a lot of games, like we've said, and they're beginning to really identify what styles work for them. The issue is, playing around bot lane is exactly what Munster want to do as well. Shaka and Musi are the main carries right here for this Munster Rugby Gaming team. And so we're going to have a real clash down in that bottom lane on who can come out on top. If Shaka and Musi pop off, they can absolutely just run through a team fight. They can take their team and all the way to the promised lands, you know. But the exact same thing can be said for MKR and Boltox. I'm going to be really fascinated to see who comes out on top of this one, because they're also slightly different styles. MKR and Boltox, they tend to like to work as a pair quite often and bring the jungler down to that lane, whereas sometimes you're just going to see Shaka sat in the lane by himself, and Musi, he's gone. He's off. He's just going to go meet up with Munster's jungler instead and roam around their map, and not necessarily just play through that bot side, instead make the bot side everybody else's problem as well.
Yeah, and of course, with the Blue White's identity pretty clear to everyone by now, while Munster feels a little bit more flexible, there's one lane we haven't talked about, and that is the top lane. That has a pretty interesting dynamic going on.
It really does. I mean, we really thought that we knew what was up with Kaga. You know, Kaga is a top lane tank player, and then all of a sudden, that's not necessarily been the case. There's been a lot more of those far more interesting picks actually pulling out. in the top lane. Did anybody saw Olaf? Like, that man's Olaf has been popping off. Even in the loss, the Venom Crest, that Olaf was still absolutely running it. But there have been a couple of situations where I think Kaga might have played Olaf 4 times. 2 of them in losses, to Venom Crest and to 42, where he popped off completely but just wasn't able to be that main carry for the team. And that is an issue that he's been running into, you know. If Influentic in the mid lane isn't doing so good, if that bot lane of Shaka and Musi aren't able to get things going, Kaga, he can run through his lane opponent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he can win the game for his team.
Meanwhile, on the side of Blue Whites, my cash has been the rock of fast called Gragas for quite some games now. Feeling comfortable on these tanky champions, just playing the off lane, pretty much left weak side on his own. Sometimes he's done very well, like completely outlaning Hola in their match against the Invulnerables, and that is a feat that not many tops in this league have accomplished. I can only come up with me like Panda and my cash. So that is something to look forward to. Does my cash keep the style against another aggressive top laner?
Exactly, it's going to be a really fascinating matchup up in this top lane, and one we definitely need to focus on, which, I mean, finally we can say we actually need to focus on a top lane matchup, because for far too long, top laners have not really been impactful, whereas in the current meta, you're getting a ton more aggression out of both of these players, and it's going to be really interesting to see. Another lane matchup that we haven't focused on, but probably should spend a little bit of time examining, is this mid lane matchup, because Influentic specifically for MRG has been really up and down. Some brilliant performances and some pretty iffy ones, looking a lot better on the tanks than on those engaged champions. So we'll have to see if Influentic is just going to be left onto a tank or if he wants to really redeem himself and pull out something he likes, like the Aurelion Sol particularly. He really likes that champion.
Well, we'll get to find that out in draft, because we are finally here with Blue Whites against Monster. Blue Whites on the blue side, as it should be. Already some interesting bans coming out with Ivern and Kindred in the jungle. No Maokai or Sejuani to be seen.
Now we're going to see some of those spicier jungle picks taken off of the board. That Kindred is something I know that MRG specifically dislike playing against. You know, they ban it out in quite a lot of their games, especially versus Venom Crest, which was one of their main bans going in. You know, just don't want to play against it, clearly from the amount that they've been banning it. That is 2 jungle bans. That Nunu is a speciality of Nord, though. That's absolutely his champion, so no real surprises there. Pomo not going to be able to play the Annie this time around, and so Blue Whites has a lot of high-powered junglers still available. Yeah, you didn't even give us long enough to talk about it, Blue Whites. It was either going to be the Sejuani on the Maokai, and most teams, they want the Maokai in this situation. So does Nord just decide to take the other end of this matchup, go tanky, go for that jungler that's just going to look to help out the rest of the team?
They may not even need to do that. Zaya Rakan is still open, and with only Kai'Sa being banned out of the priority AD carries, this power duo has been left wide open, and Zaya is usually the main response to things like Maokai. With the Brambles coming at you, you can just Featherstorm and get that one get-out-of-jail-free card. Also, Cleanse, really powerful on this AD carry, able to play front to back against this character that loves to go in hard.
And what do we highlight? Musi likes to get out of lane and go try to gank other people. Rakan lets you do that really easily. And of all the champions in the bot lane, Zaya can survive by themselves. Another really potent support at the moment is that Rel. A lot of aggression, even more aggression, I would say, than that Rakan would have been. The response right here of Blue Whites, we could see them just take themselves that jungle. Sorry, not that jungle. Yeah, that bot lane duo. Ashe. What does Ashe like to be paired up with? A Braum. It makes a lot of sense. You get to just put yourself a big shield, sit back, not get too aggressed on, and really can just run down this Rel. She's still relatively immobile once she's off of that horse. So, can be a bit of a counter.
Yeah. Rel, of course, the prime support of this patch. By far the most powerful one, easily blind pickable. Rarely paired up with the Zaya, though, prefers to play with the Kai'Sa and Ashe and these more aggressive AD carries, but still a decent one. Trading off the Zaya Rakan power duo for this flanking, engaging support that has insane teamfight prowess is usually worth it, but Braum, this early on, could deny some picks from Monster.
Yeah, definitely could, and you can see just going towards that Cassante. I'm expecting that Cassante to be into that mid lane, potentially. Influentic, some of his best performances has very much been on that Cassante. It could technically go up into the top lane, Kaga perfectly good on it as well, and that is the joys of having that red side. It really can be a flex pick between the 2 lanes. See, gonna ban out that Jace, looking to take some of the aggressive picks away from Mycash. I'd be a little bit surprised to see a Gwen be allowed through this draft as well, just because both of these teams have a lot of potential tanks, and the Sejuani, that final one of those priority junglers, just gonna be gotten rid of. There's no need to let it through at this point. When you've got the potential of the engage out of a Rel, you don't also want to be dealing with the Sejuani.
Yeah, most likely going to be focusing on the jungle for the rest of the blue-white side, and Yone getting banned out.
Okay.
Extremely interesting. This is usually the main counter pick to things like Azir and Gnar, so that could be being prepared here.
There's the Olaf. We talked about it right before the draft. It's one of Kaga's absolute best champions. He's really been running it recently, and yeah, just get rid of it. Don't have to deal, because whatever you put up into the top lane usually has a bad time versus the Olaf in the early couple of levels. So we'll see what the pick right here is going to be. I'd expect it to be the jungler, and then allow that Cassante to be that flex pick between a couple of remaining champions. You know, the Jarvan's still really strong on this patch. The Trundle, another one that you highlighted, will be the Trundle. That's another bit of decent engage that can be paired alongside this Rel and the Cassante. Honestly, the engage right here out of MRG is pretty insane.
While MRG does have a plethora of ways to get in, there's no follow-up for the Rel yet, and that's what I'm looking at when I want to see the top lane pick. However, Blue Whites get 2 priority picks here, and the Azir has escaped this entire draft. Such a powerful pick in this meta, currently most picked along with Jace. Well, LeBlanc should probably be in that top 2 to 3, but she's usually banned, escaping this time around for the entirety of the draft. This is not going to be a Fiddlesticks lock-in. I know you guys are trolling.
Do it.
They wouldn't dare.
They wouldn't. That
A
makes
double dare.
significantly more sense. However, I mean, the Fiddle would have been great fun. I wish that had been the lock-in. Instead, will just be that Gnar has a pretty decent matchup. Either way, actually, Blue Whites have gotten for themselves. Whichever lane that Cassante goes into is going to get poked out quite heavily by the range of either a Gnar or an Azir. So let's see, is this Cassante going to be a top lane or a mid lane Cassante? Influentix played it a lot more than Kaga has. Kaga has a slightly wider champion pool as well, but still, the Cassante does not really like playing into the Azir, so a little bit of a rock and a hard place. I did say I'd be surprised if the Gwen was allowed to go through the draft. It does go through. Kaga gonna pick that one up on the last pick.
Yeah, the Gwen gets locked in, but now MRG have a huge problem with no proper engage tools other than the Rel. What will he do if the Rel gets interrupted by something like, let's say, an Ashe Arrow or Azir ultimate? There's just no way for them to get in. They are relying on flanks, and they're relying on heavy side lane dominance through this Gwen and Cassante.
Really are, and there is the potential. Let's not get that wrong. I mean, MRG individually are really strong players. Sometimes their macro rotations have been a little bit iffy, though. And like you said, you are putting a lot of pressure right here onto Musi. And hey, Musi is a brilliant, brilliant carry. He can absolutely put the team on his back, but it is a lot of pressure. And in a game like this that really does matter for both of these teams, MRG needs to get those wins going. Looking like they're putting themselves into playoffs, but you want that momentum. And after a 3-week break, Blue Whites, they've been playing for the last 3 weeks. MRG could potentially be a bit rusty as a team.
Well, have to see that on the Rift, but well, I did mention about the Monster. They have a solid game plan and definitely something that they can execute just to play your ability and play your skill. Managing the waves properly has been the key point of this team previously. Meanwhile, Blue Whites playing very traditionally. Once again, this is what this team has been shining through. And Mycash on the Gnar, I believe that was his most picked champion last split in Division 2. Getting on the comfort pick with the Yone banned out on the enemy team, the Gnar blind, paying off pretty well. Sure, it got counterpicked by the Gwen that melts tanks, but Gnar isn't one of those traditional tanks Gwen does really well against. There's outplay potential there.
There's outplay potential for both of these top laners though, and I think that's the best thing about this top lane matchup. We highlighted it before this game started, before the draft. We were like, these top laners, it could get real spicy, and I'm excited for it. Mycash and Kaga, I'd say, are 2 of the better performing top laners we've had so far in this tournament. And a Gwen, especially, if that Gwen pops off, oh, you know that it's going to be just over, but you have the ability on that Gnar to shut it down. You know, in the early laning phase, you should just be getting to poke out that Gwen, but once the needlework comes through, once that level 6 is ticked, that's where the Gwen really comes online and will be able to begin to win out on these matchups. So Now, there's a lot of intricacies in this top lanes. We'll have to watch it closely.
Yeah, and again, this is all about lanes for Monster. They have the powerful bullying tools. Maybe, okay, mid lane, let's ignore that for a second, push that aside. We can go through that a little bit later. But top side, level 6 will be a key point. Gwen can start taking over. They have the bot side Rel that can roam around the map, affect it with the jungler. They have the engage potential onto the Ashe. Even with Braum unbreakable on top of the Ashe, you can only block feathers one direction if they're properly set up. And that will require heavy coordination from Blue Whites, which Monster doesn't really have. They press the buttons at the enemy and hope for the best.
That's the Monster plan right here. Go. Follow that Rel all the way into the backline and just shred. And it certainly is an idea that can work. You know, you've got that Gwen to lay down that AP damage. You're relying on your Xayah for your AD. And other than that, you've got 3 tanks to just set everything up. That pillar, potentially, right here out of Nord as well, is going to be huge because the ganks are less easy to execute, let's say, on this Trundle. They're definitely potent. That pillar can really slow knock somebody back, make it pretty much impossible to escape. But it's not quite as guaranteed as, say, a Maokai. A Maokai gank, which is point and click, goes straight in, very easy to execute. So a lot of eye is going to be on Nord right here, see where he can get his team going. Because as MRG, I'd like to see this composition getting rolling early, because Gnar scales real well, Azir scales real well. You know, this composition does great things in the late game. So Monster, they need to get things going as early as possible and really allow these slightly earlier scaling carries to really come online.
There's also the option for Nord, as you said, heavy focus on him to get things going, but he could also get himself going on the track.
Yeah, very true.
Just invading the possibly weak Maokai, if he starts top side, just 3 camp into enemy jungle, see what enemy can do, because where's the lane priority gonna come from? Azir, pretty weak in the early game, bot side. Ashe Braum, probably not gonna match too well against these two, even though Braum is very strong early on. It's all upon Nord to carry the early to mid game.
It is. So, jungle matchup, gonna be really spicy. In a big team fight, I'd take myself a Maokai. You know, that Nature's Grasp, we've been seeing it for months on end at this point. It's super spicy and really strong. You can just completely take over any of these choke points, but there's a lot of tanks to be able to subjugate and steal away stats from right here for Nord. Like you said, if he can get himself going, that's definitely a carry potential lane, which you really need, because this Cassante in the mid lane, that's looking to help out the rest of the team. I mean, I've seen Cassantes take over the game, but more specifically, you're looking to all out onto one of the main carries and just get them out of dodge, or be another bit of side lane pressure, because the 1-3-1 potential out of Monster is also really strong. You put your Gwen in the top lane, your Cassante in the bot lane, keep teleport on whoever needs to get over for the Baron. Bada bing, bada boom, you've got yourself a really good split push composition. Whereas over on the other side, Blue Eyes, I think they want to be more grouped together in a lot of situations.
I mean, we already talked about it. It's a traditional team fighting comp. It's as bread and butter as it gets. You're front to back, play around the Mega Gnar, try to stack it up, see if you can find an insane engage. Azir ult, Gnar ult, all huge repositions against this very immobile Monster squad. Could even win them a disadvantaged team fight around the Dragon Pit if there is a Gwen or something. On the top side, they have a multitude of CC options to keep the enemy in place with, and as long as one of the carries, Ashe or Azir, is there, they should have enough damage to win a properly played 4-on-4 fight.
Absolutely, and also, when you've got an Ashe, where are those enchanted crystal arrows going? I mean, we always have to be watching them. Can you land those long-range snipes? Because sure, there's plenty of utility just in popping it when you're 2 feet away from the enemy, using it as a quick stun, plenty of CC follow-up on the rest of your team. But if you can land those long-range picks and really turn them into getting yourself consistent 4v5s, that's absolutely another way that Blue Whites could win out on this game. I feel like, personally, a lot of my issues with Blue Whites has been their drafts, and this draft doesn't say to me terrible things. I'm not looking at this draft and going, what was that? It's no Gragas and Jarvan being picked into a Poppy, as we saw previously out of Blue Eyes, you know? That was a big question mark ping. This draft, it's cool. I'm fine with it. There are some places where, you know, they have a little bit of weakness. This bot lane potentially could get pretty jumped on by the aggressive one out of MRG. But I think Blue Eyes have got over their biggest hurdle they tend to face, so can they really turn it into a victory?
Yeah, and with that, we are heading over to the Ritz. Welcome to Game 2 of today for NLC Division 2 Invasion of the Mainstream. Blue Whites facing off MRG, trying to secure themselves a positive win rate, where MRG, coming back from the holidays, looking to secure themselves more wins. And so far, it looks like a standard jungle start.
5-point stance out of everybody, nothing too hyphy happening in the early stages of the game. Interestingly, both Nord and Bobask are starting towards the top side of the map, working their way down to the bottom end. As we jump right back into another pause, we did hear from production that one of the junglers was having a little bit of lag. Obviously, we want to have these players playing in their absolute peak condition, don't want to be playing through lag, because this game, we've highlighted it before, but I think we should reiterate it again right now, means a lot for these playoff standings. Both of these teams are really in the thick of the fight. Blue White's a little bit further down, but MRG, with a lot of games left to play, have something to prove.
Yeah, and with this sort of a draft, trying to play a little bit more towards the meta, we've seen the Rail come out, we've seen the Zaya come out. They have adapted clearly, properly to the patch. The only interesting part being the Trundle, kind of stealing it from Blue Whites, just playing it last time against 42. We've already seen it be effective. Now we get to see how Blue Whites deals with their own tech.
I hope, well, I really want this to be a back and forth game, because I've seen a lot of stomps. To be honest, the closest games that we've actually been seeing recently have been those Venom Crest games, where they really go back and forth, back and forth.
Did you see the game we had earlier?
I missed it, unfortunately. Was that one a close one?
You could definitely say that. It was one
I'll
of the
have
closest,
to watch it back.
It was one of the closest games I've seen this entire season. They just went back and forth, just an absolute banger to start out with. I'm just hoping that we get more of those today. Just
keep it on
absolute
rolling.
Bangers. But yeah, we'll try to sort out the small issues here. What is going on? Oh. I'm having some interesting propositions of guest casters for the upcoming games, but we'll think of that maybe sometime. Right, we're almost having some Division 1 guests on stream. Well, maybe I can see if we can work something out eventually, but we're going to focus on our game for now. So for this game, we already talked about how early game is going to be key. How do you think the Trundle should play out the first couple of levels?
I could definitely see a situation where right here Nord just wants to 3-camp to gank, just try to get into a lane and get aggressive, potentially even onto this mid lane, because it's really difficult to gank onto a Azir once that sliding guide comes in. But before that, Azir very squishy, could at least blow a flash and just relieve a little bit of potential pressure that will be on top of Influentic. And if not, full clear down towards the bottom side of the map and then just shadow the spot lane. You don't necessarily need to gank it. It's pretty difficult to gank into an Ashe Brom in the early couple of levels, but you just want to make sure that you don't end up in a situation where all of a sudden your bot lane's getting ganked. Just be there for the potential counter gank and just try to keep that bot lane safe. They can make plays of their own. You're against an Ashe Brom, which makes engaging relatively easy once you get right on top of them, but disengaging incredibly difficult. So just be some support, shadow around that bot lane, go for a gank if you can, and beyond that, just keep yourself a little bit ahead right here of this Maokai, because Maokai will be more impactful during these team fights. So look for these skirmishes early on, and really use the power that the Trundle has, because in a straight 1v1, Trundle can just bully. So if you have the potential to go in, maybe into the jungle, and try to get a little bit of counter jungling off, that is also a great way to get in, because Maokai gets pretty low during his clears, and during those early levels, he is dang squishy.
He is. And it's one of these Nautilus cases, where you can bring Aftershock if you want the extra resistances to survive extended fights. But bringing Aftershock against Trundle, not the greatest idea ever.
No, that does not help, and you really do need that extra speed as well as a Maokai to actually be able to get into the backline, but that just leaves him super vulnerable. You need that first couple of items to really come through to be able to keep yourself tanky enough. And it'll be interesting to see what the build is as well, because usually Maokai full tank, sounds pretty good. Again, there's a Trundle in this game about to nick all of your stats, turn them into his own, and then beat you to death with a club. So maybe you don't want to go for that full tank build. Maybe there will be a demonic in there just to add a little bit of extra burst and just to, keep the pressure up right now onto MRG. It just makes the life right here of Bobas a little bit harder. He's not going to be out of this game, certainly got a lot of tools to get in gank, try to get himself and his laners ahead, but versus the Trundle, it is just a bit harder.
It is, and well, early skirmishes against Trundle are pretty much always doomed, no matter what champion you are.
Just get away from him. Do not engage.
You're a lonely... I was thinking about a cool reference that then I remembered. Nobody's gonna know Finnish scene junglers. We have a jungler in the Finnish scene called Lonely Seal. There's
Make your joke. Make your joke for your Finnish friends.
But I've already ruined it by explaining it. It doesn't work anymore. I was going to buy some time with this, but it just feels bad, man.
That's a fair point. You can save it for when you have an individual Finnish league back.
Hey!
At that point, people really will get your reference.
Coming soon to a stream near you, and of course, all of the regional leagues are coming. I'm so hyped.
I'm so hyped. Yes. Give me UK League of Legends because I am too young to have been casting when we actually had a proper UK scene. So now I want to get involved. I'm so excited.
You know what the funniest story is about the current League of Legends scene? When MSI was going on, we had one of the viewing parties over here in Finland, in the capital. They were all across UK, Sweden, everywhere in the NLC regions. And the one that I attended had a quiz for prizes.
Okay.
And I took part in the quiz, and it was a Finnish scene quiz. And I casted in every single event that was asked about. Even
so
back
you cheated, basically.
No, I'm a participant in the Finnish League of Legends scene. So what if I've been a part of it in 2013? Who cares?
Cheat. All I'm hearing is that you're a cheater. As we hop on back to the Rift, hopefully the pauses are done for, and we get back into this game nice and quickly.
Yeah, and we finally get to watch how the laning phase is going to form up. Interestingly, cross-map starts for the junglers.
Hey, indeed, it looked like Bobas was going to be starting up towards the top side of the map. Instead, gone for that Raptor start, is on full vision, though, out of MRG. That ward did get placed down, so nobody's going to be surprised about what that start is. And with the cross-map play, it allows Nord to not have to rush his way down towards this bottom side of the map. There's not any potential gank out of Bobas. And you just know right here as Kaga that you need to be a little bit careful come the later stages of this game. Don't get over-aggressive, don't step too far forwards and get yourself ganked, because losing a couple of kills in this Gwen versus Gnar matchup does not feel good. You are really going to get bullied out during the early stages, and it's all about having that all-in potential once you hit level 6. Otherwise, this game just doesn't feel too good. Both of these junglers going for the... both of these top laners going for the teleport starts, rather than the ignite that you sometimes do see out of the Gwen, so really wants to be on the side lane and then to come join these fights.
Gnar, of course, with his hop can escape the Gwen all-in quite well, depending on form.
Yes.
But Gwen really needs to just keep a proper early game advantage, try to survive the Gnar poke, and hey, it's almost like we talked about this.
Shocking, right? We really did highlight pretty much immediately that you were going to see a little bit of counter jungling coming out from Nord. You can see Pomo making his way over just to add a bit of extra support. Just going to get smited away.
And here we have another skirmish. Pomo has rotated over. The Maokai still very far away. Mycash getting targeted. Kaga still quite strong. Conqueror fully stacked. Pomo in melee range. But here comes the Maokai. CC'd up. Pops goes. Kaga wants to look for the 1 versus 3. Still feeling very strong. And with Influentic rotating over, both teams want no part of this anymore.
That would have been a win for MRG right there if Influentic was able to join, because he got pushed in quite so badly by Pomo, had to join that fight a little bit later on. That is Flash is blown out of Mycash and Bobas, and the blue buff just pretty easily stolen away by Nord. He's going to get a 3 buff start and potentially a double scuttle too, putting Bobas in a massive hole to start out on this game. And this is what you can do on the Trundle. You win those early skirmishes. You saw even in that 3v1 that happened for a couple of seconds before Kaga got involved, still able to just survive, deal enough damage that when Kaga got involved, snip, snip, and making everybody on blue-white's run away. Bobas looking to potentially gank in onto Kaga right here. Already sat with a chunk of health missing.
Yeah, Kaga, no ghost either, so any dash will be lethal for jumps forward, but the Q sends him the wrong way. MyCash just needs a couple more hits, but the invulnerable Win just surviving barely as bot side. MRG trying to do a counter play, MKR just having none of that with the Trundle ganks, not having enough CC to lock down this blue west bot lane.
Not without the range out of the Rel, not quite landing those stuns, and it's always so risky as a Rel when you go leaping into an Ashe. Because of that slow on the auto attacks, getting back away is really difficult. You saw it from Moosey there. Each and every time he went in was just getting chunked out, chunked out, chunked out. Top lane gank not going quite right, like you said. Unfortunately, that bot back out of Bobas put Kaga back under his turret, and then again, more aggression out of MyCash. Didn't even have the flash, having blown it in that earlier on play. Just super risky, doesn't die, ends up going even. Look at the CS lead difference though. Kaga sat in a very good position right now.
The wave's currently crashing, so it will even out just a little bit, but Kaga definitely feeling good about this early game with his strong-sided jungler, able to secure him a decent chunk of gold and levels, and now he can slowly but surely start to take over the lane. Level 6 is coming up. He has a cloth armor just in case that he would somehow overextend in this matchup. It's just going to feel good being on the top side of the map for this MRG squad.
I absolutely love this play right here out of MRG as well. Thank you very much to Cal for highlighting it, that we had a control ward head into the top side jungle right here for Bobas and into the bot side jungle as well. Just keeping full tabs on where Bobas is and allowing Nord to just move around the map with impunity. He knows that he's going to be able to counter invade wherever Bobas is and not worry about his laners getting ganked because everybody knows where Bobas is at right now. It's such brilliant map rotation out of MRG, and considering that map rotation was something that MRG have occasionally struggled with so far, to see them come back off of a 3-week break and just immediately start bullying out the enemy jungle with brilliant map play and micro decisions, I really love it.
Yeah, just impressive showing by MRG. Still, they need to convert with this advantage somehow. Whether that be through the Trundle, finding objective timings while Maokai's on the opposite side of the map, or just straight up contesting the Maokai himself. Influentic, roaming with his jungler, they know exactly where Maokai is, not checking the brushes at all. Bobas could be in huge trouble. The pillar keeping him in place, still no flash to burn. Is able to walk over to the tower with MyCash on his heals. They won't be able to secure a kill, but they secure some additional information, maybe a group.
That means Nord just gets to, oh, hang on, bot lane.
Yeah, they have gotten a stun onto Desire, forcing the cleanse out. Ignite ticking on MKR, just need a couple more hits. Moosey wants the kill, flash away from Core, getting the additional damage, support being the ones to secure it, but still an important turnaround kill for MRG, dodging out the last ability. Moosey making the plays on the realm.
Moosey, my man, as Pomo looking to potentially dive right here. Moosey very low, not gonna be dove. However, just has to back away, and Moosey just going in right there. It looked like Shaka was about to die, had to blow the flash and the cleanse just to attempt to get away from that constant slow and CC that comes out of a Braum Ashe. But then Moosey goes into the backline and just keeps MKR in check, gets him low enough that Shaka can flash forwards, pick up that kill, and then has to just turn tail and run away from Boltox, who, despite being a Braum, would have had enough return CC to be able to have picked up that kill. It is going to be a trade between the junglers right here. Going to be that Drake for Bobas and the Herald for Nord. These teams roaming around the map pretty effectively so far, but MRG just about coming up on top in that bot lane play.
Yeah, the bot lane play heavily skewed by the CS lead that this Ashe has, just zoning out the Xayah Rel, threatening the all-in previous lane, just not converting on it. It was just the mechanical outplays from MRG that was able to save them from a very, very rough spot. Now, again, pushing up towards blue as they are able to establish a freeze, but now, finally, the pink ward gets found out. Bot side, never mind, I'm not gonna let you speak, because if has hit level 6 and wants to go in, he popped Ghost, but isn't able to secure a kill. That's still all the summer's gone for him.
They're just constantly bullying out down here in this bottom lane. Look at the CS difference. It is absolutely gigantic, and more than that, there's also a cull on MKR, meaning that the gold influx is going to be even bigger once that one gets fully stacked up as well. Blue-White's bot side of the map definitely winning out, and that's not a great look for MRG. They love for their spot lane to be the main focus that they can play around. When you're getting bullied out by the constant slows and CC that come out of Ashe Braum, just really tricky to play around. Nord still has not used that Herald, got a couple more minutes until the turret plating falls, so plenty of time to use it wherever he pleases. I could see it going into any 3-lane potentially. Top lane if you want to unlock Kaga, mid lane just because cracking that mid lane turret is always useful, and bot lane if you just want to put a little bit more gold back into Shaka and try to even up this difference.
Shaka needs a huge influx of gold to be able to match MKR. Just so far ahead, just with pure CS, almost a 700 gold difference down on the bot side of the map. This Ashe will be extremely strong heading into the next objective fights, whether that be the Dragon in 3 minutes or if they want to siege up some platings. Eventually, the Herald has to be defended though. Trundle's still holding.
Everything going pretty smoothly for both of these teams, to be fair. A slight gold lead for MRG. The rest of their map is doing a lot better than their bot lane is potentially, as we can see. Pings going down towards the bottom side of the map. Nord is hanging around in the area, but definitely as MK and Boltox, you can tell that something's up. There's no reason.
And they are looking for it. Another pillar hitting MKR, but the peel is there. Teleport also being channeled in from mycash. It's the Mega Gnar. This could be huge. The stun doesn't go over. The Pomos here as well. This is a disaster for MRD as their health was a melting. Shakur trying to kite away, but it is a blue-white show, losing 1 for 3.
It was a double teleport in the end right there. mycash and Pomo both come down and join, and a huge amount of kills going over. That's going to be 2 kills to the Ashe. Another one picked up for Pomo, making it well worth his time. And the rotation out of blue-white is just snap and you miss it, and that is the change that we saw recently with Unleashed Teleport coming at 10 minutes rather than 14.
Yeah, just huge turnaround on the bot side of the map on the counter gank. MRG, we talked about it in draft, are lacking these hard engage options that are throughout blue-white's composition. You could see that there, the pillar just not enough to keep the Ashe in place with the Braum jumping on top of him. MRG just can't deal enough damage.
No, they can't. It just does not quite work out, and that's the issue with this lack of engage in the composition that MRG have built for themselves. If you can't get onto this Ashe, she can kite you for days and days. You need hard engage to be able to get there, something that unfortunately MRG are just missing, and the teamfight composition out of Blue Eyes is just so strong. Once you have that Gnar join, once you have that Emperor's Divide coming out of Pomo, it's the ability to make your enemies just miss, not be able to get involved, push them back away, and keep that spacing. Because Ashe should just place this one down.
It's about to time out. He needs to be fast. I think actually
It's gone.
It's gone. They want the gank instead, but mycash almost has Mega Gnar. He should be able to peel himself, gets the hop, and that's a disaster.
No. Turret plating's up as well. You would basically have taken out that turret, just place it behind. That's a big mistake right there out of Nord. A huge amount of turret plating just given up. Let go.
Pomo could get all outed here. Will be able to get himself at least somewhat away with the flash over the wall. It's not going to be enough with 4 members of Monster roaming to the mid lane, but we could have a follow-up fight with Boltox and Bobas. They were setting up the dragon early. MKR is here as well. Teleport coming in. Monster wants to fight for this as the teleport is now fully channeled. Kaga pops the ghost, wants to go in. The tower's still there for Blue Whites to fall back on. And there's 0. I repeat, 0 CC holding Blue Whites back. The arrow goes a little bit wide. Goodbye to Santa Demonic. That one, but at least the dragon is secured by Monster.
And that's the thing. This is the issue right here with the Gwen in the top lane. Like, yeah, she does a lot of damage, but gives you no CC. You've seen it so many times where Gwen finds a massive flank, and it just doesn't matter because the enemy team can just run away. Still, the dragon does get picked up for MRG. They managed to even that one back up 1-1. Kaga
Looking for Kaga here. They have the CC down. Gwen is still surviving. At least for the most part.
Wow.
Still able to barely get away with the health potion ticking from the refillable. Leandri won't do enough damage. Still really close call. Side, we have another engage. Ultimates get popped on both sides. Damage being traded, but Shakur is still really weak. 2 levels down on the Ashe, and they just cannot hold an all-in fight.
Really can't. A little bit of mistiming as well, where Musi went in with that Magnet Storm, the perfect time for Shaka to be able to pop that ultimate. Unfortunately, just wanted to hold on to it to ensure that he didn't end up dying. And the disengage manages to come through for Blue-Whites. They're continuing to have an absolute stranglehold.
What?
Bobas.
Where are you? This tree is in the wrong forest, still trying to get away. I don't know if he has Phase Rush up. Wait, he doesn't even have Phase Rush. His first strike. Still lumbering away. Even
There we go.
He popped his ultimate.
Yeah, a little bit late on that ultimate pop. Bobas will go down. Bot lane of MRG are once again just going to get shoved off of this bottom side of the map by Pomo threatening with the dive. MRG going to be missing out on more and more CS, more and more XP down towards this bottom side of the map. The top side, though, still going pretty well for MRG, looking to get the second Herald. I hope this one actually gets placed down. That would be ideal, as the bot lane turret will fall. That's first turret blood going over to MKR and Boltox. And that just feels especially bad, because MRG could have had that first turret blood if they'd have just popped that Rift Herald in the top lane, forced the issue, giving extra gold over to MKR that they just didn't need to do.
And this is a very, very even game, even with these mistakes from the side of Monster, just regarding objective control and macro. The question is, do they have enough power in their composition to contest Blue-Whites at this level 11 power spike with the 2 item points coming up for all the carries?
It's honestly such a good question, because I'm not sure. This composition right here out of MRG really does rely on that AD damage being able to come through from Shaka. Right now, he is so weak. He's just got himself some booties and that Kraken Slayer, whereas over on the other side, MKR well on his way to that second item. The gold difference at this point is 3,000. That's almost a full completed item in favor of this Ashe. And Ashe is not an AD carry we see that often, but when we do see it, it is super strong. Just able to kite away so effectively, use that Enchanted Crystal Arrow to just make team fights impossible for MRG to play. And I really need to see more right now out of Musi and Nord to work together and actually get engages going. Because we've seen a good couple of kills for MRG, but that's the only reason they're keeping themselves even slightly floating, and they need to keep these engages going.
They still are winning the information war, though. If you look at the bot side jungle, a huge wall of vision standing there for Monster, able to see all the rotations beforehand as they siege up this bot side tower, popping the Herald and securing themselves a little bit of gold. As Kaga on the top side could have been caught out a little bit. Bobas is there to clear the way. You don't win this 1v1, Bobas. Just walk out of there.
Yeah, but that's just going in order to save his turret, I guess, because Kaga certainly does win on that one. Herald does actually get popped and manages to charge down a tower in the bottom side of the map. I think it's going to get a second charge off as well, so this is a significantly more useful Rift Herald view. But at the same time, I mean, you could have had turret plating and first turret blood in the top lane. I can't really get over that one. It's an inexcusable issue. It's the sort of mistake that I make when I'm stuck down in my bronzy games, but Nord absolutely should not be making.
It is. Still, like, we've been talking about all the mistakes that are happening here. Some of them more minor, some of them more major, but still, MRG is ahead in total gold, especially this Gwen. Has finished the Riftmaker, feeling very strong, able to secure this top tower on this push right here, as Blue-Whites, shoving in the mid-wave, are trying to set up the dragon in revenge, but with the flank wards, Munster could have a play to make.
Indeed, really interesting start of that Force of Nature out of Influentic. It doesn't give you as much of an early power spike, but when you're up against a Nazir, there's really nothing else that you can actually do. Like we expected, Bobas also going towards that Demonic just to keep himself being too tanky and, you know, not quite being able to deal
Arrow lands. This could be a fight for Blue Eyes. He has to jump away with a crash.
Teleport.
Down goes Pop from MKR. They have the flying teleport from MyCash. Has the Mega Gnar up. Let's see if he can make miracles happen. Moosey surely will fall to the dot damage. And this is an easy fight win for the full team of Blue Whites. Not really playing fair.
See, when you are looking for a teleport flank of all the champions you want, maybe it's not the Gwen, but it certainly is the Gnar. That teleport absolutely huge. Didn't find too many members, but still blew the flash out of Shaka and was able to secure a second kill. It looks like Blue White is going to push themselves forwards, get themselves this mid lane turret as well, which is absolutely huge. Going for the engage.
And Unstoppable is influentic, but able to barely get away. One left auto attack gets the shield, surviving the final poke from MyCash. And now MRG not feeling strong enough to go for a turnaround, especially with the Azir Tower in the way. Oh, well, never mind. We have teleport. They're going back in.
Why not?
Yeah, they are a little bit late on the play, though.
Yes.
Influentic is trying to
MyCash?
find some sort of angle. MyCash has been caught out, gets brought over the wall, and that's one kill at least going over. But now Influentic very low on HP. Interesting situation here.
Yeah, just constant fights, not allowed to take an actual breather. Engage again onto Moosey.
A really nice arrow from MKR should be an easy one to pick off for them, and it just feels like both teams are playing off tempo and getting punished for it.
Yeah, neither team really managing to find an actual true lead in this game. That is now 2 of those Enchanted Crystal arrows out of MKR landing onto Moosey, just keeping him stunned up. And yet, this is the first one that we saw. You managed to get it right onto Moosey, and sure, it's not the primary target, but whatever, just try to get the early aggression down. Bobas on the flank with the Nature's Grasp. You've also then got the flank coming out of MyCash in that situation, and MRG just find themselves completely surrounded. Now, we are 20 minutes into the game. The Baron has spawned. We're not sat at a soul point for either of these teams, so the Drake is less important. But when it comes to early Drake taking, neither of these teams are going to look for a 20-minute Baron, you have to imagine. So it's all about that setup and finding those early aggressive plays. The Vision War has been won by MRG so far, but all of a sudden, no, they've not got that same deep vision. In fact, MRG kind of don't really have any vision on the map at all right now.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, wards do eventually run out. What may also run out, though, is Kagha's time on the Rift if he overextends. Maokai was there lurking around, wisely just staying back and recalling as the Azir was approaching. But yeah, as you said, the vision for MRG just not very good at the moment. A bunch of ultimates, but they were looking for the recalling Trundle in vision of a sapling, I think, that was placed in the brush. Good awareness there from Nord not having the shop open or something, as it's recalling.
Yeah, definitely. Getting caught shopping right there would have been inexcusable. Wards all over this river now when it comes to both the Drake and the Baron. Plenty for MRG, plenty for Blue-White, so any potential engages are going to have to be incredibly sneaky. We've seen those flank teleports and how strong they could be. Pomos is up, MyCash on its way back, whereas on the other side of the map it's Kagha with the teleport, and Influentic who's waiting for his to come back up. Lots of presence from MRG towards this Baron, but they don't win the straight 5v5. This is a 5v5 composition that Blue Whites have crafted for themselves. You need to get a pick right here as MRG, but it's pretty difficult to do so with the amount of disengage that you have on Blue Whites. There's a ton of great tools that you can use to just avoid getting jumped on. That Glacial Fissure, you know, it's not great as an engaged tool, but as a disengaged tool once the team fight's already started, that's brilliant. Gnar can jump away. Ashe can just slow with all of those stuns. Slide and Glide coming out of the Azir as well. You know, there's no real target that MRG can look to just jump on top of. It might have to be a play where they just send multiple members to a side lane to catch out MyCash when he's pushing, and commit a lot of members to try to do so.
So, I have a small, interesting note to make here. Bobas is cooking. Look at his build.
Yep, that's an AP build. We said that it wasn't going to be a tank build, but I wasn't expecting just no tank.
Yeah, we're going to see how tanky he is as he gets jumped on by Kagha, popping the needle work. And again, all of the teleports being channeled out by both of the teams, just expecting a fight, but instead it was just a shake of hands, instant cleanse from Shakur. Gets hit by the Enchanted Crystal arrow, but again, They are so far away from each other, no further follow-up is there, but now Munster losing the cleanse on the Xayah, losing the ultimate from Kaga, aren't able to contest this dragon in any shape or form. It's not as high of a priority just due to the fact that it's a Cloud Drake, but it's still a dragon.
It's still another one, and that is going to be the sole point for Blue Whites. The next one they pick up will give them Soul a massive power spike, and there's plenty of champions on Blue Whites who will do good from a little bit of extra movement speed, the ability to engage just a little bit stronger. Not what MRG wants to allow to happen. These teams still very even on gold, as we saw more fighting, but once again, just going to be a disengage. Dead even right now on gold, despite the fact that this game has felt so back and forth. Those extra stats actually coming out from those drakes are going to be pretty huge when everything is otherwise so dang even.
Nord kind of feels like that one friend who... everyone has that one friend who does like MMA or something, and then at a party you go and like shadow box him a little bit, then he actually hits you and you back off like, whoa, no, I don't actually want to.
Exactly, you're like, oh, he doesn't hurt that much at this point, surely, and then one chomp absolutely does. Big fighting in the bot lane. Bobas, again, you don't win this!
Yeah, you definitely don't. That's an easy kill picked up by Kaga. And that's the jungler now gone from Blue Whites. MRG instantly pinging for Baron.
You don't win this. Kaga has the teleport, gonna go back to base, spend some gold, and try to rejoin his team most likely.
Pomo has teleport. Meganar also there for my cash. MKR now approaching. They don't have the damage to melt down this Baron quite fast enough, but Kaga has the flank. No needlework on this Gwen, but has access to the back line. MKR finds himself in big trouble. My cash also losing out to Meganar, but a huge Empress block from Pomo. Healing away with Emergy. Shakur too far forward. No front line. He is the dead front line. Double kill for MKR. And Blue Whites look to secure more as Pomo looking to go over the wall. He goes into melee range, goes golden as well. Like will get bursted down, and MRG looking for the turnaround. MKR now go forward. Kaga securing the double kill. All of a sudden, MRG haven't managed to turn it around.
Wow, what a back and forth fight. We end up back to even on kills. And what a fight right there, actually, out of Blue Whites to be able to stop that Baron play. It should have been nice and easy. Chaka went way too aggressive, unfortunately. Flash forward, thought that he could just about pick up that kill onto MKR. Doesn't end up working out so much. Kaga gets into the backline, and it looks like this should be a one fight. It's a 5v4, but a huge Emperor's Divide, sweeping up multiple members into that Glacial Fissure as well. Shaka flashes forwards, but MKR just going to be able to turn and burn him back down. Now, all of a sudden, MRG are on the run, and it's terrifying to try to run away from an Ashe and a Brom. Flash is burned. Pomo going over the wall. Immediately recognizes that he's made a bit of a mistake. Has to go into the Golden. That leaves my cash completely dead in the water. And Kaga, back over the wall, picks up Pomo too. He is absolutely feeling himself right now, and Kaga, the main carry for MRG, is showing why he has that title.
And as the carries have a chance to calm down here as we go into another pause, it's just a huge carry duel between MKR and Kaga, doing so damn well for themselves in these team fights. MKR positioning well, targeting the key targets, and Pomo, you have to give him credit for the Emperor's Divide, just saving the doomed-looking team fight. Well, Shakur needs to pick himself up a little bit, just going way too far forward in that fight. Thankfully, Kaga was there to save it, but if you look at the timer, we're at 27 minutes now. We're approaching late game. And boy, is it looking scary for MRG as Azir and Ashe get more and more items.
At this point, the Ashe has just completely overtaken poor Shakur. And Kaga doing his absolute best to keep the team in it, but again, a flanking Gwen, especially without that needlework, just doesn't do quite as much as he really would hope. The disengage, the engage out of Blue Whites are both pretty immaculate. This team fight really, really difficult, but multiple members moving towards Kaga in the top lane. He's just going to back off, going to know that something's up and move away from this team fight. All around the Baron right now are Blue Whites. There is going to be a teleport on Influentic down in the bottom side of the map, so We could see another big scrap around this Baron once again, and we do have to remember, you know, sure, Shaka going too far forwards, flashing in, was over-aggressive, but talking of over-aggressive, this is the second time Bobas has decided to pick a fight with Kaga, and that's a fight he just straight up doesn't win. Like, there's no world in which a squishy Maokai beats out onto a pretty fed Gwen.
Okay, oh, a little bit spooky there for him as the rest of the team recalled. You never want to be alone in this sort of a game as an Ashe.
Definitely, don't want to be stepping up too far and being left alone as the Ashe. Sure, you have plenty of peel and you are super dang strong, but you're still just going to get taken out. It's an Ashe. It's an Ashe who will get taken out pretty much immediately with multiple members of MRG if they're able to get into the backline. Should also note that though quick blades have been completed onto Shakur, which is a pretty big spike for this Xayah. I mean, it's completely outshadowed by the 3 completed items sat on MKR, but still, Shakur getting to the point at which he is going to be dealing plenty of damage. Looks like it's going to be a Rabadon's 3rd for Kaga, which is just a huge spike for this Gwen, going to be able to shred through whatever is in front of him, especially in these side lane matchups where clearly Bobas can't fight against him, but neither will Mycash or Pomo be able to, and make these flanks that Kaga clearly wants to go for on the Gwen that much more potent.
And this team fighting squad now looking to secure the Dragon Soul. MRG forcing their way forward. Here's the Mega Nard teleport, but Kaga has spotted it out. The Maokai route onto a ton of people. It's a 50-50. Nord and Boba goes into the pit. Nord trying to get it. He's able to seal it. Now the rest of MRG wants to fight more. They found the fight that they needed as Blue-Whites is the rift.
What a fight right there out of MRG, and once again MRG come to play in this team fight. A clean ace, managed to steal away onto the Drake as well, and over to the Baron goes MRG. This game has been close, and all of a sudden explodes in the favor of Monster.
Just a huge play from the side of MRG. They secure the Dragon, they secure the team fight, and they secure the Baron right after swinging the gold lead solidly in their favor. We were talking about how this Ashe might have run away with the power spike. We were talking about how Pomo is playing these fights immaculately, but it is one bad fight that changes it all, and now MRG need to figure out how to go from here. How do they close the game?
And it was such a small little thing where Mycash teleported into the backline. That's huge on a Gnar, obviously, but Kaga, who'd just come back to base to pick up that Rabadon's death cap, was just immediately caught out by him, and Kaga does so much damage that Mycash joined the fight with his tail tucked between his legs, already trying to run away and disengage, not able to be that big engage that Blue-Whites needed him to be. And it just meant that there was nothing Blue-Whites could do. All of their engage had all of a sudden failed. Kaga with that needlework going through all 5 members because they were all stacked up on top of each other. And we have to highlight Nord with the straight 50-50 steal, using the early aggression really effectively. Bobas.
Yeah, there's a split. The split map. Bobas with the fantasy feed just dodging all of the needleworks. Still, MRG pressuring hard into these inner towers of Blue-Whites, able to get them all in one big fell swoop. Cracking the base itself, though, may prove to be a larger issue.
Don't have that much long-range engage. In fact, let me revise that statement. You have one piece of long-range turret pressure, and that is Shaka, who is currently not the strongest man on the map by any stretch of the imagination. Gwen, once she can get on top of a turret, shopkeeper?
Okay. They've taken a small vacation here. Interesting.
I've never seen that before. I love it. Thank you very much to Cal for highlighting that, because the shopkeepers have just abandoned us. Clearly no more items. I think the issue is that MKR has actually stolen them all and has left none on the map for anybody else to take.
Now MRG setting up for a push on the bot side of the map with no objectives to play for. It is a little bit awkward for them to just go into a lane and shove it down because of the amount of engage Blue-Whites have. They can easily force the issue with things like Maokai ultimate, with things like the Azir ultimate if they're not careful. but MRG have the strong top lane. Kaga shining in the mid lane at the moment, pressuring my Cash constantly.
Just pushing forwards, trying to make Blue Whites as uncomfortable as possible. They're up by about 1,000 gold. And Blue Whites, they could have had Soul, they could have had it all, instead lose everything in just one big engage. But even with the bound up minions, MRG still finding it pretty difficult to be able to crack these base turrets. All of the turrets outside of the base are gone. Just gonna get away.
Yeah, just gets arrowed up a little. You know, sometimes you want to get an arrow into this just to see how it feels.
At least it's the Rel. Again, sure, these arrows have been pretty laser accurate, but they've been onto the Rel more than any other champion on MRG, which is arguably the best one. Support lives do matter, but they matter less than everybody else on the team.
That just makes me feel sad for Moosey and Baltox. They've been doing such a great job in this game, and that's how you're gonna
I
talk
love
about
supports.
them.
I love supports, but oh, can we just get a quick check, please, on who that Anathemas is going to be bound to? I mean, it's on the Azir. I was very much expecting that to be onto MKR, but no. Pomo is going to have that Anathemas chains right on top of him. Clearly, not taking mainly magic damage in these engages. Does not want to be taking any more. You can understand it when you have got that frozen heart. You know, that's going to stop a lot of the damage out of the Ashe coming through. Anathema's chains in an attempt to stop this Azir from being able to shred through. Both of the top laners scrapping out in the top side of the map. All 4 members from both teams round this Drake. It's still Soul Point for Blue Whites. MRG looking to put themselves onto Soul Point, or potentially look for a fight right here. There is a flank out of both of these top laners. Kaga is here. Cash.
This is a very scary looking flank. Blue Whites trying to find a way to establish at least some sort of a position to contest this dragon that has spawned. Shakur already starting it. Trying
it's just
to
melted. It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Blue Whites just cannot contest it. When now showing herself in mid lane, they're going in. They found Pomo stuck away from the rest of his team. Kaga zoning out a couple of members. Pomo still makes it out. And now Kaga alone in the middle of Blue Whites feels so strong, but eventually falls. MKR secures the shutdown. Now north the target. Influencing dives in with a flash. Mycash now has Megador all out onto the
Shakur.
But they just don't have enough. Shakur finishes off the Gnaw. Shutdown. Going over the Bomber from the Cassante, and it is an even fight once again. This game is so close.
You said that first game of the day was close. This one absolutely trying to live up to the hype as well. And it was an absolute mess of a team fight. We'll have a quick replay of it. So the Drake just goes down. And you can see Influentic goes in, tries to get involved. That Nature's Grass though, standing up 3 members, just stops any follow-up. And Kaga goes so far into the backline whilst the rest of the team is pushed back with that Emperor's Divide. With the Hallowed Mist able to survive for so long. But eventually is just going to get taken out. That arrow going to be the final nail in the coffin. Mycash just about gets that Mega Gnar, but isn't able to do anything whatsoever. Shaka is able to burn in the backline, and Influentic as well has gone too deep. First of all, Kaga goes too deep, then Influentic does so. Members falling from both of these teams. Nobody's able to turn onto any objectives, and we remain in this dead even position. A 5k gold lead, sure, for MRG, but we're getting to the point where that doesn't matter. You know, you're almost full build onto MKR, so the gold means less and less and less, and it's just about which of these teams can execute the team fight better.
It is all up to the frontliners of both teams to keep their carries safe. We have seen the damage that Kaga can do, but we've also seen the burst potential from Blue Whites. It's up to Influentic to separate the death ball. It's up to Moosey to find a good flank for a possible wombo combo with Shaku's feathers. The all game behind Xayah has been clawing her way back into the game. Now finishing the 4th item, the last whisper already done. Once that turns into the finished version, it will be a huge power spike. And since Blue Whites has no main tank anymore, the Maokai's full AP, the Nars building Bruiser, he can melt faces.
Really can. It's going to be such a tense team fight. Almost 40 minutes into this game, which the patch recently has not allowed for long games. We've had mainly scraps that end in about 25 to 30 minutes, so going all the way to 37 Pretty huge. Baron up on the table. Both of these teams, though, sat on Soul Point. That's going to be huge for whoever can pick it up. Absolutely, movement speed is something that both these teams would love. Blue-White's possibly a little bit more than MRG, but either way, going to be a highly contested Soul Point. The gold lead remains in MRG's favour. They're not able to get too much of it done, and their lack of siege potential is really coming back to bite onto MRG. Sure, they've taken out all of the outer turrets, can't crack the base. They're going to need the Baron to be able to do so, so start it up right here. There is response out of Blue-Whites, hovering around, just forcing MRG off. Pit, though, complete darkness, a very scary situation for Blue-Whites.
Blue-Whites feels like MRG isn't strong enough to just secure the Baron straight up with them in close proximity. They don't even call for the TP from their Azir. Instead, take a similar tempo recall as MRG have, buy their items. Azir, though, missing such a small amount of gold from the Rabadons. The fourth item would be so huge. They should donate this mid wave over to him. Yep, you see him channeling the recall already. Now the rest of Blue-White just needs to buy him time. They spent the Azir tower in the mid lane to keep priority, and MRG don't know that this power spike is coming.
Just teleport straight back to lane, not even going to risk walking up. This is absolutely huge. That Rabadons is just going to melt, and we've seen some pretty big Emperor's Divides out of Pomo so far. Plenty of vision for both of these teams around the Baron pit. Not so much set up around the Drake. 40 seconds until that one spawns, so both teams going to need to get things set up. Another reset came out of Kaga. Boltox engaged onto, but he's pretty tanky.
They found Moosey with the arrow, but that's not necessarily the target they want. Nord really squishy, just gets bursted down. Kaga's here, but the support now got no more frontline left, and Kaga no W either. iCash still has flash ultimate, look for it. If he wants to go, he has the bonus to do so. Here comes Influentic all out onto the Gnaw. Unstoppable the ultimate, but the rest of the team don't want to follow. That could be the top laner also gone. Shakur trying to set up the feathers. MKR has gone too far. That's the main carrying on from Blue-White. Momo going in. Shakur secures the two most important kills of the Division 2 so far.
Holy Shakur, he's been put in the dirt all game and just manages to pop back up, finding those kills, and Influentic went in with no support. Out of Kaga and Shaka, it looked like they didn't want to get involved whatsoever, but it was all the traps, setting up the feathers, using it to just about manage to find that kill onto Pomo, and that will be the soul right here for MRG. It's going to be that initial engage straight onto Moosey, and then Lord just gets taken out, but the response out of Shakur just burns through Bobas. You've now got no junglers in a fight that's ostensibly around the Drakes, which should mean teams back off. Instead, MKR, you can see, he knows he can keep stepping forwards, keep landing those slows. Influentic has to go in right here, otherwise Shakur and Kaga get run down. Goes in, doesn't really have any follow-up, but just watch. You can see the feathers just being laid down right here. MKR steps just a bit too far forwards, gets stunned up, gets taken out into that feather storm, just able to pick up that kill. And going golden is Kaga to keep himself alive. These players are on an absolute knife's edge.
Just really, really explosive match through and through. We are above 40 minutes now. This is extremely rare for games to go on this long on these patches, and we've had basically 2 in a row now. Both teams, just one clean team fight is all they need to close it out. We saw during the replay, MRG picked up the Baron uncontested with death time is still ticking for the carries of Blue-White. And now it's another situation where MRG are trying to crack the base of Blue-White. But with this almost fully melee composition, it will be an absolute mountain to approach this Azir and Ashe.
And that's the issue. MRG don't really have any ability to siege onto a turret. They also don't have the ability to start a team fight. You know, all of these team fights that MRG have won have been off of aggression from Blue-Whites. And what do Blue-Whites even really have to fight for outside of their base? Just need to keep their turrets as safe as possible within the base, and they can just wait out onto this game. It's all of the onus on MRG to try pick themselves up a fight.
Almost!
That's the 3rd time he's gotten caught out.
That is an important source of CC gone. Also, the ultimate went on cooldown there. MRG have finally done it, cracking the base as Blue Whites is separated. Mid lane inhibitor falls. Voltox is now the target. Kaga could zone out MyCash. MRG may have finally found an angle. They only find Voltox on the turnaround.
What?
MKR and Bobo kiting backwards, but MRG just so damn strong, flowing through the base. It has been a good 40-minute hustle from Blue Whites, but MRG is the one to come out ahead.
What a scrapper that one was. Blue Whites putting up an absolute fight versus MRG, but managing to pull it back. Shaka eventually coming online after having a pretty bad time of it during the early stages of the game. But by God, was Kaga on this Gwen the absolute shining star for Munster. It was what was keeping the team in touching distance when Blue Whites felt like they were taking over.
It feels like both teams just played their composition really, really well. All it came down to was individual mistakes, whether that be due to micro or macro. It had nothing to do with the draft. It had nothing to do with the circumstances in game. It was all just performance and good calls from both teams time after time.
No flame, but I have questions.
Okay, sure. We may have
Bobas.
questions.
Why? A couple of times in that game, why? He didn't win that 1v1 versus the Gwen when he went for it in the top lane, had to flash away, get it out, then dies down in the bottom side of the map when the Baron is up trying to 1v1 the Gwen again, and then in that final play gets caught out. I mean, that final play, it was already looking like MRG should be able to just seal out that game, but a couple of moments right there where Bobas unfortunately did just get himself stepping a little bit too far forwards, and it's just a shame because the early game out of him was really well played, despite the fact he had a lot of pressure right there from Nord, trying to invade constantly, was getting good ganks off, keeping his team afloat, using really great Nature's Grasps as well, and so super back and forth. Like you said, a couple of just tiny individual mistakes, or just brilliant plays depending on how you look at it. You know, you could say, oh, it was a mistake to go too far forwards on the Azir, or as Bobas, you know, to step up and get yourself caught out by the feathers. Or you could just say it was a brilliant play out of Jaka, you know, to lay down that trap, back and forth. It's these kind of games that I just love to cast where anything could have happened, it feels like.
We could keep going analyzing this game for 40 minutes, just another one of these games, but I don't even know we still have a game for you. We're behind schedule by like almost an hour.
We need to go, yeah.
We need to go on a short break. Thank you everyone so much for watching this absolute banger. We've had 2 so far, still a third to come when 42 takes on LLS. We will be back very shortly. Don't go anywhere. It will literally be 5 minutes or so, and you will be joined by VXLT and EK. It's been a pleasure, Bloxer.
Thank you very much.
You will certainly see us again. From us, it's good.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here at NLC. We've just been out of the banger, and we might be into another one because the wait is over. EK, are we ready for the final game
Well,
of the evening?
I am so ready. I've just been sitting here for like 3 hours now, just like watching banger after banger, and then we get these big breaks as well. I'm just like, please get me on the air, guys. I want to cast some games, so please, I just ask one thing: give us a banger too. I want a banger, please.
I mean, I'm hoping for one as well. Like, LLS is a very strong team, and 42 Gaming desperately needs to win. And that's a very interesting dynamic that you have because 42 Gaming has 3 extra games, but all of them has been losses, so they're equal on the standings.
Yeah, and 42 Gaming right now is actually on a 2 losing spree, where on the other side they're actually on a 2 winning spree. Now those 2 wins were against some weaker opposition, so they're not fully fair, I suppose. But in a sense, you know, we're having a team with a winning spree against a losing spree, and they are fighting for the top of the table, kind of like they want to secure that playoff spot. We have a clear top 2 in Venom Crest and Carolina. We have a clear bottom 2, unfortunately, as well, kind of with Lions Creed and Anima down there. And then we have like a bunch of teams balled up in the middle with 42 Gaming there, and Vulnerables, Monster Rugby, Lungfist. Like we have a couple teams that are trying to like kind of secure their position going into playoffs. So this game is very important.
Yeah, and I was there actually yesterday because they were playing Venom Crest on the side of 42 Gaming, and their comp was a bit mismatched. And well, Venom Crest is the best team fighter in Div 2, and when you have a mismatch and you can't even decide what you do, they're gonna feast on that. But it was a close game, so maybe 42 Gaming have something up in the bag. But on the other side, maybe we'll see another Zed from LLS. Like that's something that Painful can always pull out.
Yeah, you know, I was watching a couple of VODs. Yesterday, I wanted to do some prep, so I watched some 42 Gaming VODs. I watched a little bit of Lundqvist as well, and I did see the Zed come, or I saw some Zed bands. I know he plays the Zed, and I also saw him picking up a Yone. So, you know, someone who plays like the Zed, the Yone, there's got to be some more spicy picks hiding in there, like a Talon or like a Yasuo, or like most players who played like those 2 champions play all of those champions. So I'm really curious to see if we get some spicy mid lane picks. On the side of 42 Gaming, they play a bit more standard in the mid lane there. They do play the likes of the Jays. They play the likes of the Ahri. They're a bit more standard. They are definitely about trying to get mid prio and then moving mid prio into bot lane. But they don't really play that many spicy mid lane champions. But maybe Kordash can prove me wrong here.
Well, we'll see. But from what I remember, the 80 carry for the side of Elite side actually has been putting off some Kaisas. So the Kaisa Jace combo can be something that I don't believe that we've seen from LLS so far in Div 2 Summer. But if it shows up, this is the premier comp right now in 1313.
Yeah, I think it's extremely strong. And it's very strong because it's long range, it's non-committal, it's pretty short cooldown, and it's very hard to itemize against. You know, if you're running a poke composition with like 280 poke champions, you rush a bunch of armor, you kind of nullify their poke. But if you're playing against the Kaisa, who has full AP damage, you play against the Jays with full 80 damage, one builds lethality, one builds magic pen, you just cannot itemize against it. And even if you do, because they're both building their own pen and they don't have to go into like a weird hybrid pen situation, they still deal a lot of damage when they do land their poke. And it's just it's firing one after the other after the other after the other. And once you start getting whittled down by those, you just kind of start rolling over.
Yeah, and we've seen actually like the last game there, MRG against Blue White. It was supposed to be a whittling by the Azir, by the Ashe. You had the range advantage, you have the pick potential also with the Crystal Arrow, but it didn't work out. We've seen like how impressive Cassandra can be in these situations, and even the Gwen. And these are 2 picks that might be up for grabs and might just throw a monkey wrench into this entire meta comp, especially just as you said, with the Zed, with the Talon, these like spicy picks. Because I'm thinking that LLS, in their comfort, they easily have the counters to what is meta right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think both teams share a fairly similar playstyle, or at least within the VODs that I have seen. For 42 Gaming in particular, the way they like to play their games, they're very formulaic. They have a top lane. All right, our producer just kind of like trolled us, and we got like some horror in our ears, but it's fine. We're still here. I don't know if that was the stream, probably not, but that's why he just had us look like really weird there. Thank you, Cow, for throwing us off. Anyway, I was talking about the similarities between their compositions and the way that 42 Gaming likes to play with a very stock standard composition. They have a tank top lane. I'm kind of expecting to see something like the Ornn come out. I think they played Ornn in like almost all of the recent games, and they are willing to blind pick it. They are willing to pick it into the likes of the Renekton, just be like, hey, we nullify this lane. We don't have to play around it. It's a team fight enabler. Then they lock in like an Ahri or a Jace in the mid lane. They get a dominant bot lane with some engage potential with a Rel or with the Rakan in there. And then just play fully towards bot lane. Thornton is like, I'm camping you guys. You guys will be the carry threats. And I'll be there 24/7. I'll set camps for it. It's fine. And I think Lundqvist kind of plays a very similar style where they also want to get their bot lane ahead. But they do, I think, play more through their mid lane than 42 does.
Yeah, and that's something that is actually going to be pretty important, because when you talk about that, then I think of Dr. Chaos. And Dr. Chaos is one of these engaged supports. And once we're heading to the draft, I'm expecting something akin to these picks. And already right there, you just take off the Graves, which is the specialty pick for Emp. And the Swedish core on the top side of the map, this is where like I'm looking, because for me, Nidget and Chaos, they have that flexibility of you can just have Chaos roaming, playing that Rakan, helping the other side, or you can bring it back if you have a favorable draft. And on red side, you have that solo lane counter potential.
And one important thing here that I noticed yesterday as well when I was doing my prep is Xayah is banned first rotation every single game at 42. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they don't play it, or maybe they don't value it enough where they don't want to first pick it, but they also don't want to give it over, so they just remove it. And there, as you talked about, there's the Kai'Sa. The Jace is still up, though. We could see Lundqvist here trying to take the Jace away and pair it with an AP jungler here. So then make sure that 42 Gaming can't stack up the two very OP picks together.
Yeah, that's an option. But then, what will you do for pick 2? Do you go support? Do you go AD carry and try to match it? And they will! That's a very spicy Draven, and that's a statement from Ninja.
That's saying, guys, I don't care that you're camping us. We'll camp you too, and we'll do it better. Draven Rel. Now, that's a lane that just wants to fight 24/7, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, and Rel as well still have the flexibility option of going jungle if they want to. It will depend on what we see from the blue side. And Thornton right now is just hovering their pick. And Jace is still open, so we'll probably see Jace, I'm expecting.
Yeah, I'm thinking you probably want to go Jace here, and then you want to pair it with a support. You could go either... I mean, Alistair would be a bit surprising to me, but I guess you can knock people away from your carries. And I mean, I think the Zed hover is more of a, hey, I'm taunting you, this is your champion, let me just hover it for a bit. But then again, you'll never know.
Yeah, I mean...
Jace is open,
options. But with that Alistar, EK, I don't think that we're going to probably see the Jace. Sejuani feels more like it. You're going for the poke, then you're trying to find a pick as well as that. So they still have some contingencies, and they still also have the Jace as the option. They might just be trying to bait LLS into picking it themselves.
Yeah, it does look kind of like it. I am kind of curious now to see what LLS is going to be picking here. I could see the Sylas coming here. There are decent ultis to steal, especially the Sejuani ultimate, but you are blind picking it, so you're leaving yourself open to potentially getting counterpicked. Sylas definitely doesn't really win many lanes early on anyway, so he doesn't really care that much about getting counterpicked. At least the Tristana is out, so that counterpick is not available. I'm kind of expecting for LS... Actually, I was not expecting that champion to be banned, but I was kind of expecting stuff like the Gnar and the Ornn to be banned, so that 42 Gaming can't blind pick their top lane easily. But so far, they're removing mid lane champions.
Which does make sense, like, because as he said, like, Rel's still a flex. Sylas also can still go jungle. Like, he's not slouched there either. But then you will have to accommodate that slower start and that weakness. And we're already seeing them trying to pinch that jungle to make sure that, hey, if you're picking Sylas, your jungle alternative isn't going to be as good. But there are still options in the jungle pool, which makes me wonder, will we see that Jace banned? Because if the Jace isn't banned, if I'm 4-2 Gaming, I'm just locking that straight in, and there it goes.
There is the Jace ban. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I was expecting it to be removed. Now, 42 Gaming could still go for something like the Ahri. Ahri does at some point kind of get outscaled by the Sylas, but you do have a lot of early pressure. You can poke him down a lot, and you can push in lane as well, so you can try and push the wave out, move with your Sejuani, and try and go for some plays towards your bot lane, because you want to shut this Draven down. You want to play for your Draven if you have a Draven in your team, but you also want to play against the Draven and camp bot lane when you're playing against the Draven, because you don't want the Draven to accidentally get ahead.
Yeah, and well, one of these ways will be making sure that your mid jungle roams a lot towards that bot side. And what would be better than a Zed, especially against a short range champion like that Kaisa? A lot of the shadows, a lot of tools that you can use. But I'm not expecting the Zed. Maybe we'll see something more general. And Ivern signals that this Silas is going to lane.
Now, Ivan is a champion that I'm not that familiar with in the current meta. I know he's gotten like a mini rework, and apparently he's very strong right now. And I've seen him taking over both pro games as well as my solo queue games. So that champion definitely has proven himself to be very strong. I do think at this point you do only have one engage tool generally with the rel, but you're kind of solving the problem because you can take stuff like the Sejuani ulti now, and you're kind of dissuading Fortitude Gaming from locking in more strong ultis to give to the Silas. So I'm kind of curious to see if they want to go for something like the Ornn here, because giving Ornn ulti to Silas it doesn't feel too good.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm seeing that Ezreal and thinking, okay, they realize that they're trying to build the team comp to last a long while on these team fights. So you pick the Ezreal, you poke them out, and then you have the Sejuani and you have the Renekton to be a good blind pick into the top laner, because we still haven't seen that, and also still be a good servant in these team fights. But now with a counter pick for the side of LLS, what are we expecting there in the top side of the map?
I mean, I could see them locking in something like a Gnar just to get the pressure onto Renekton. You trade fairly evenly early game. You can try and nullify the lane. They're hovering in Ornn right now, but I think Ornn would kind of... Okay, they do lock in the Gnar here. I think Gnar was the best pick, because Gnar offers you some side lane pressure, but you also have the opportunity to escape, because we all know what happens when a Sejuani or a Renekton try and like pile up on you. You get chain CC'd with the Empower W from the Renekton, you get chained into the Sejuani stun, potentially into the Sejuani ulti, and you're just locked there forever. And it's quite hard for an Ornn to just walk away unless you have flash up. Gnar has a bit more freedom where he can be far away, he can slow you down with his Q, he can hop away as well. There's a bit more room to play both aggressive, but also make sure you can escape. And I do like the engage potential that a Gnar brings when you can find some flanks. And I think when you do have the bushes to play around with the Ivern, that could be a strong tool to kind of like hide the Gnar in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we're talking about the Ivern, I'm just thinking about Emp and Painful as a mid-jungle duo. And as you said, that minute rework, that extended shield, the refresh shield actually, not just extended, will allow Silas a lot of leniency. And by the time you get to 2-3 items, suddenly that Silas might be an uncontrollable monster. Because I'm looking at the Alistar ultimate, I'm looking at the True Shot Barrage, I'm even looking at the Prison and the Dominus. All of these ultimates are great ultimates for the Silas. Even Kaisa's ultimate isn't that bad. So they got away with that pick, and I think it has a lot of value. But from my eyes, I think the fact that they got the Kaisa out early and then they have an identity behind that Kaisa might actually allow Fortitude Gaming to have a bit of a fighting chance against Lightside here.
Yeah, I definitely... guess you can go either even or create a bit of another game lead. Draven kind of stops being very relevant, especially when he's going into late game team fights where he has to deal with frontline.
Yeah, well, we've seen 2 back and forth games. So will we get to see a third? That's the big question. Because I believe if Draven got the ball rolling, it might be a one-sided affair. But Lightside here will be going against 4-2 Gaming as we kick off the Rift.
We're going into game. I am so ready. Please let this be a banger.
Yeah, well, we'll be seeing what happens. It looks like Boris is back. And we're back here. We're already seeing a Hextech Dragon as the first one. And that actually opens up a lot of possibilities. Because I believe that outside of even Chemtech is good for the side of Lightside. And Lightside are actually going for a 5-man play there. They could catch somebody off, but they will just select to play it safe. Make sure that nobody gets caught off early on. And it's pretty good for them in my eyes. Because now you just take all the time you need. And as he said, it's a team comp that needs some time to get to their point. You want at least one item on the Silas, one item on the Draven, and then you can try to find these skirmishes.
Yeah, and I think in this game, it's very execution heavy. I don't think there's like a clear favorite here. I think both team compositions can kind of take over. If Kai'Sa and Ezreal get really far ahead, then it's going to be very hard to find engage potential onto the side of 42 Gaming, because they'll just be poked down before they can get onto them. But on the side of LLS as well, you know, they have great scaling on the Silas. They have the ability to teamfight very well when they do steal the ultis. They have the rel engage, so if they can find the engage, it's very strong. So it's going to be a very execution heavy game, you know, and I actually prefer that. I don't like it when games are kind of decided in draft. It always feels really bad when that happens. And I like them doing this, by the way, because they're giving Draven a couple additional stacks. It's not going to mean, you know, a very big amount, but when he gets those couple extra stacks, a few extra gold here and there, it might just push him towards his mythic just a little bit earlier.
Well, all of the adoration, though, needs to lead into a kill to find that gold, and that will be the big point. And as he said, it is execution heavy from LLS, but I feel like, at least on the side of 42 Gaming, they have the agency to wing it. You have the Kai'Sa, you have the Ezreal, so that poke can start to be problematic if they play to the range, but that will get to happen later on in the matchup. Right now, it's just a matter of tracking the two junglers and seeing if Thornton and M can have a say early on in the game.
Yes, I'm kind of curious to see where both junglers will path. They both started around bot side. So you obviously, you know, when you're looking at Ivern, you don't actually see him taking camps. So he has to, you know, walk up there, kind of mark all the camps, walk back down. And then he's got this weird thing where normally champions will clear towards top lane and they'll end top lane, but Ivern's kind of weird where he, you know, he starts bot lane, walks top lane, walks back bot lane, and then ends on the side where he started. So this does allow you to make some plays happen towards the bot lane, although with the wave stage right now, I don't think Ivern can really do anything. He's probably just looking to get some vision around the mid lane. We do see Rel moving up as well. This could be interesting.
That could be interesting, or it could be just them trying to be that painful, but we're already seeing Thornton moving in, and that signals that the roam has a good read, but it will be a matter of whether or not they'll pull the trigger, because painful, I just feel like that setup was there to make sure that painful doesn't die. M now trying to cover for the mid laner's recall, and Thornton will find a push though. They'll find the damage, but Painful is still going back in, and that might be problematic. Stun will not trigger, and there comes the trigger seed. Painful's trying to find the angle, but not that high on mana, and that means that Kurosh will get an exchange, but at the end of the day, no kills to go for either side.
He has to be careful though, because Rel is hanging around the corner. Dr. Chaos coming in on the Rel. Now, this does mean that Draven gets pushed back, but I don't think there's really that much threat onto the Draven right now. Top lane is getting ganked as well, but I don't think anything should happen. He just hops away. He does have Magro available to him very soon, which will recover some of his HP, and Draven can just catch the wave. So a lot of stuff has happened there, but nothing really came of it.
Yeah, not a lot that has happened so far. And it's a good and a bad thing for the two teams. At least I feel on the side of LLS, you have that enticement of having Nidget on the Draven. You want to get kills in the bot lane, but you also don't want to pull the trigger too early not to lose your stacks. But Thornton has been doing a pretty good job at both aiding their laners, making sure that they're trying to find the opportunities. And they're going for it again. This time it's actually easier because it's a double hop. But there comes the flash. The stun is a little bit too late. The permafrost will be under the tower, so we'll have to go back. And that means that you will pay the price for your transgression, and Lar will get the first blood here.
Oh no, he went a bit too deep. He gives over a kill to Gnar. He's going to lose his bot lane camp threat as well. Dragon's about to spawn. They cast out the vision. They can get the scuttle. This is a disaster for 42 Gaming.
Yeah, it's not looking too good. And the win in the top side might even prove to be more problematic than they anticipated, because you need that Renekton to be your second front man in front of that setup against that engage. You need some kind of peel, and you have that with the Alistar. Then you have the poke, but you need a meat shield. And if the Renekton falls too far behind, it might not be enough, especially with the Silas running you down, with the Draven with the massive 80 spikes. And they're already being gifted the Dragon. I don't think that there's any chance of contention, and you can tell they're trying to angle at something, but they're not committing to a skirmish this early on here after losing that first fight.
And this is rough, because now you're just kind of allowing LLS's bot lane to just have free roam. They do take a dragon here. Now, this dragon individually doesn't mean a whole lot, but it does get them on the board. And if they can now start getting some actual leads developed in their bot lane, then they can use those leads to start snowballing dragons. And before you know it, you're talking about second Drake, third Drake, and then at some point Soul. So it's going to become very difficult for 42 Gaming if they can't contest this Draven. So I really, really want to see both junglers keep a good eye on it, because the moment Draven dies, it's amazing 42, but if he gets a kill, it's going to be really rough.
Yeah, Bushy doing a fair bit of damage there. Almost taking Kabir down. Actually, there's a chance to maybe initiate a dive, but it doesn't look likely. Just to play it and just forcing Kabir off the CS as much as possible. And you can tell, Renekton is only on 25 CS compared to Noir 46. It gets a fair bit of them now on the back end of the Drake, but still, Tim Farm behind. But that is made up with Kurosh there in mid lane, getting a healthy lead onto the Silas. But 4-2 Gaming still haven't found their way to victory in any of these lanes just yet.
Now, the one good thing for Kabir here is that, fortunately for him, he did not burn his teleport when he died last time. He walked back to lane, so he has teleport available to him, so he can at least go and catch the wave. But yeah, this game is definitely slowly slipping away from the side of Kabir here. He needs to kind of just be a frontline right now. I don't think you really want to play for this Renekton anymore. Renekton is already down 15 CS. Yeah, you can actually... Thornton is moving up there.
Yeah, something could happen, but we're already seeing it. Second time might be the charm, and it will. Bushy will be brought down, and he will not be Mega. He will be dead. And that's a good trade there for the side of 4-2 Gaming. We're talking about the Renekton needing to get back in the game, and they do it. Bushy maybe aggressing a little bit too more than necessary.
Yeah, I was not really expecting them to go top too much more, because I was kind of expecting Bushy to respect the ganks a bit more, but he pushed up a little bit too far, didn't have flash, and did die for it. Now, he doesn't lose that much for it. Painful covered the top lane turret with teleport, but this does mean that he now doesn't have the teleport available, while Kurosh will have his available sooner than Painful does his. Dominus being stolen here.
And Amp as well. Daisy's pretty quick, and with that trigger seed, Kabir will be still down. Just a question of whether or not they'll get it. They'll get the root, they'll get the damage, and Kabir will be brought down. Good usage of the Dominus, and they will prove domination will continue in the top lane, and the wolves continue there for Kabir in the top side.
So my eye is just, even though a lot of stuff is happening top lane, my eye just constantly goes to Draven. Like, I want to see what he's doing. He has 171 stacks right now. So whenever he does get a kill, for anyone who doesn't know what happens, he gets 40 gold plus 2.5 times the stacks that he has. So there we go. We're hovering the tooltip. That's nice. We do see a play for Herald right now. Herald's 120 seconds ago. So this is a nice and early play.
Yeah, and Thornton not tanking enough yet, but the damage is going to be good. No! The last boulder will not connect. That's an important life saved. But the problem is now you have to give away the Herald, and the gold is slowly but surely moving towards LLS. As you said, I wasn't expecting Lightside to not really prioritize bot lane as much as they're doing right now. Like, I feel Nidget hasn't been trying to find these leads, but honestly, I'm looking at it from the top side perspective. Kabir is super far behind. You're bound to win a team fight if you actually go to a 5-on-5.
Yeah, and these are the next level mind games. Now you lock in the Draven, you signal to everyone, guys, we're playing around bot lane. Like there's like these big neon signs saying bot lane, and then you don't actually go bot lane. It's the brain, it's too big.
Yeah, speaking of big brain moments, there comes Bushy, but Bushy this time has wisened up to the antics of Thornton. That's the Fisher not present anymore for the side of 4-2 Gaming, and this actually will give a lot of freedom to LLS, who now have Ryo in that mid lane and can try to transition into doing something in the bot side. The bot side has been pretty empty. Now is being occupied by 3 members, even a 4th coming down, and we might be setting up a dive here.
No, I don't think they can dive this. I think they can just run away from this, but Painful could technically steal Alistar ulti and be very tanky. Oh, yeah, he does still die.
And it's a Draven kill. That's actually impactful.
Wait,
and
that's massive.
Yeah.
How much did he get? Do we have any way? I think it's in the chat, right? Do we have chat access? I think it says how much he got. 326 gold. There we go. That
and
is...
the deal might Sweden because the Ignited sticking in. Chaos now got him locked up, and Nidget is gonna farm another one. That's another 100 gold with that Hunter passive from the domination tree, and things are going even better there because when it rains, it pours for the side of 4-2 Gaming. Korosh has the shield, but Painful with the Alistar passive is too tanky. One final swing from the Patricide chain, and a Demacian Mage will continue the domination. And LLS, they're winning everywhere, but silver lining is Kabir's getting some chance of a comeback into that top side.
Yeah, Kabir is becoming stronger and stronger, but does it really matter that your Renekton is very far ahead when you have to try and dive 2 very fat carries who just kind of blow you up when you try and dash in there? He's going to itemize towards the Gore Drinker. He's going to be like an okay front line, but he needs his carries to be in a good spot right now, and they're definitely not in that spot. Now, Static Shiv has been picked up for Kurosh, which does at least allow him to push the wave out and then try and get some roams going. Although at this point of the game, Kai'Sa's roams aren't very strong yet. You kind of need to get her like 2-3 items before she can really start popping off. And we get a replay of what happened top lane as well, while bot lane was being dove. We do see the stun being stacked here. It's a very free kill. You just kind of run it down, you lay the CC, and you get the kill. So at least 42 Gaming is getting a cross map going, but there isn't really an objective to take afterwards. Yeah, you can get some plates there, but they're just... LLS just got 300 gold from the stacks. They got a couple plates. They got 2 kills on Draven. Draven has a massive gold lead right now. If we could get a gold check, I'm kind of curious to see how much gold he's sitting on, but he has an Essence Reaver already. He has 5,400 gold as opposed to 3,600. That's almost a 2k gold lead at 12 minutes.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get to cash in on a Draven. Things might get very problematic, but NLS has already transitioned past what 4-2 Gaming wants to do. They already send the Silas to a side lane, keep him bushy on the other one. And as you said, there are no objectives for 4-2 Gaming because I feel LLS, sure, they might overextend and they're not playing flawless, but they do good when it counts. When there are objectives to play, their setup has been immaculate.
Now, I want to see what they do right now with their Draven. They put him into the mid lane, which does signal to me that they want to try and take this turret. It's probably going to be a bit difficult to just brute force a turret down, although you could look for a dive, I suppose, with the Rel moving in as well. You kind of want to just chip away at the turret, try and get pressure, use this pressure to get some deeper vision. If we look at the top side jungle, we do see 2 control wards sitting in the bushes behind them, so they know exactly where 4-2 Gaming is moving. We might have a fight on our hands here.
Yeah, and we're doing so. Thornton will be knocked up now. The Rel as well with a fissure. Thornton might be tanky, but he's not tanky enough. Magnetized and brought down. This time, the Tree Master will get that kill. It's 1 for Emp, and the kills are starting to spread out, and it's not looking good for 4-2 Gaming, who are also losing on the opposite end of the map. You can tell Kurosh not really able to hold Painful down that long, and the Draven and Silas are starting to get out of control here, EK.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was worried about when I was looking at the draft. You know, it's okay if you go even against the Draven, but once the Draven starts snowballing as Ezreal, you just can't really walk up to him. Yes, if you can scale up and you get like 3-4 items in Ezreal and you can start chunking at the Draven, yeah, you can be effective there. But Draven at this point of the game just walks up to you, throws an axe in your face and says, get out of my way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Infinity Reaver already completed. Sorry, Essence Reaver. And I assume that they're going to go for the Infinity Edge from the purchases that we're seeing, because that's a BF and a pickaxe, and that is most likely an Infinity Edge.
Yeah, and there's going to be so much damage. You're going to walk up to someone, hit the axe, and because he's so far ahead of the game, it doesn't really matter that he's playing into double tanks. Yes, Draven doesn't do too well into tanks, but when Draven is very far ahead, he doesn't really care about armor. He just has so much raw damage that he could just burn through it. I could see him going for a third item, low dominance Regati, just to make sure he has the damage to burn through Thorin, who is most likely going to be building more armor as this game goes on. There isn't that much AP on the side of LLS. Yes, there is a there is a Silas, but Silas is itemizing into a bit more of a supportive CC oriented build, so you really just need the armor to deal with the Gnar and the Draven.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense in the current circumstances. And again, you can look at the circumstances. LLS are taking control of the objectives, and 4-2 Gaming, from their goal perspective and from their item completions, they still don't have the Nashor suit on the Kai'Sa, and contesting this is very unlikely, so they're gonna keep giving more objectives to LLS, and that's their second Herald already. 4k gold in the lead, and they might crack as well, the mid turret open, and then that will be problematic, just like Painful there, getting that abduct, and Kurosh might be stolen away. Painful still trying to look for that fight, but now with backup coming from 4-2 Gaming, I think that Painful has wisened up.
Yeah, so the Herald was taken by LLS, and I was kind of waiting for him to take it. I expect them to take it on spawn. Now, Painful has to back off here, but they don't really lose too much. There is not a wave right now. They have to wait for another wave to come through. And in the meantime, LLS, if they want, they can just drop down the Herald mid lane, take the turret, and potentially, if 4-2 Gaming doesn't respond, they could even look for a second push, and then fall back towards Drake, put some wards down in the jungle. We do see Thorin moving through the jungle quite sneakily, but I don't think there's anyone in position to really try and get a flank on.
Yeah, and the timing for the Kai'Sa recaller from Kurosh couldn't have been any worse, especially with the Mountain Dragon spawning. LLS, with that mid tower open now, they've opened themselves up to set themselves in that spot. PP still in the hands of Bushy, so a flank play is enabled. And with all the push that they have right now in all the lanes, especially in Painful, staying in that bot side of the map, contesting that mountain will be hard because you'll lose something in the other end of the map. Kabir is trying to force someone to come up and pop, but they're not giving in. They're just going to take the dragon, and they will try to look for a soul.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get very rough for 4T Gaming here, because getting more armor, getting more resist, and more importantly, getting a shield with the soul is going to work so well when you also have an iron shield, and you just constantly can't be poked out. You can't be one-shot by anyone. Like, you get a flank with someone, like you get a flank with Kabir or something, he tries to get onto your carries, but there's an Ivan shield, there's a mountain shield, there's mountain just raw tankiness. It's going to be so hard that they can secure the soul. Now, obviously, we're still quite far away from soul, and a lot of stuff can happen. But the game state is definitely slipping away from 4T Gaming, and they need to try and make some plays. So what I want to see them do is I want to try and see them overload towards some side of the map, preferably top side, get some TP awards, get a big fight, and see if they can somehow, you know, squeeze a miracle team fight into their hands and secure a Baron of it. Because I think getting a Baron here, that could really turn around this game.
Yeah, absolutely, EK. And, you know, I think that what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, because then Sejuani will have their mythic. By that time, by the next dragon, which actually will probably be the next big objective, Ezreal will probably have the Muramana completed. You will have the Natural Suit and the Kaisa.
Look at that guy.
Then this is the best chance that you have, and that guy looks to be shacked. And, well, they're setting themselves up on the side of LLS, but 4-2 Gaming, they're approaching their peak. And if they can't steal away a team fight at that breakpoint in the game by the time the next dragon comes online, it will probably be impossible for them to find any holes back, especially with the Draven and the Silas not getting shut down whatsoever for the last 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and even though Renekton is a very strong pick right now in the meta, Perkins is also hovering here that Draven is sitting on 243 stacks once again. If he cashes in again, oh, he's going to be so strong. The IE has also been picked up for him, so he's just really, really hard to take down. I also like him, by the way, picking up the Ninja Tabis here, or I think they have a different name. I think they're played at Steel Caps nowadays, but in my mind, they're still Tabis. And I like it because it just allows him to potentially get away from the Renekton diving him, because that's kind of the only threat that could ever be on him, because he has enough people peeling him to just survive any divers anyway.
Absolutely, especially with the Iron Shields, you're not really worried about the Ezreal and the Kaisa poking just yet. Of course, the Trinity Force is completed from Fruity Fresh, but no more mana as of yet means that these arcane missiles don't really hurt as much, and they'll need to have more poke, and they just don't have that yet for them to worry about it. And maybe by the time they do, the soul will be completed because Kuros will be brought down, the TP is there, but honestly it might actually be a chance for them to re-engage. Painful and Amp looks to be pretty strong, especially with that Daisy knockup. They'll clear the wave. Kabir now is in harm's way. The minion wave is there, and they're waiting for the trigger seat to reload. Painful is coming in, they'll get the tower, and they probably will get Kabir by that shockwave.
So I'm going to go back to a point that I was going to make earlier, and it is the Renekton pick. You know, I know Renekton is a very strong pick right now. Renekton is picked in LPL and LCK. It's picked everywhere. It's a strong pick. Don't get me wrong. But I do think Renekton is a pick that when it doesn't work out very well, it's so hard to really make it work, because you don't really have the strongest engage tools. You need to get him into the back line. You need to work with a flank. And if you ever fall behind, it's just so hard to play around the Renekton. Now, if you compare that to the likes of an Ornn is always useful. Ornn will always give you the engage potential. Ornn will always give you the item upgrades when you get the sufficient levels. So, personally, I'm not really a fan of Renekton, like leaving him on an island when you're a team that plays around bot lane mostly. Because I think at that point, I'd rather you just lock in Ornn.
Well, absolutely, and I'm thinking about it as well. Like, you could have played a tank, and even if you wanted to play like that bruiser aggressive style, I assume that Gwen was open. I don't think that Gwen was banned in the drop spell, not mistaken. And sure, you might think, oh, now we're overloading AP a little bit, but now you have an easy win against that Silas in the side lane, somebody that can stand up to Painful in most situations. And the laning phase might actually not be as hard. Sure, Renekton has a good time against Dinar, but in the grand scheme of things, I think that the Gwen pick would have been better, because you can look right now, Painful has a lot of good ultimates and not scared of anything whatsoever. They got the catch, and Cabs will get the combo, but Cabs will be tributed. Might even be more. Cabs will be brought down. The passive will give them much more time, and Fruity Fresh will stay alive, but this Silas Not building a lot of AP, but already the Q second cast is doing like a third of people's health.
Is there anything more annoying than playing against the Silas that has an Alistar? You're like, this guy deals a lot of damage and he doesn't die. What is this? Like, at least Alistar doesn't deal a lot of damage with his.
Isn't that Cassante? Isn't that basically always Cassante?
That's true. That's true. Just so someone insert the Showmaker meme into the chat.
Yeah.
So
Well-
let's talk about ways for gaming to make this happen, because I like being optimistic. I started my casting with 42 Gaming.
Yeah, well, 42 Gaming might be no more because they're trying to find the angle, but the prison will call Fruity, and sure, Painful might die, but they're finding everybody else. But the Kingslayer and the Zonias, the softboss is excellent, and the team fight is flawless. It's 2 for Nidget. They will get their adoration stack, and Kurosh will be the last to fall. It's all Thornton left, and well, it's ice cold because everybody has to start at Thornton.
Oh no, 42 Gaming is getting torn apart. This game is just going from bad to worse. They're gonna lose the Baron here. They're gonna lose the Dragon here. I'm all about those silver linings right now, but they have a worse composition here. They're 10k gold down. They're about to be on soul point, and they have a Baron buff here. I'm gonna have to really rack my brain to try and find ways where they can win this game, because you need to get like the perfect flank. So let's see this engage here. We do see the bot lane of 42 Gaming in a second walking up a little bit too far. They don't have vision. Actually, we don't see that happening because the replay got cancelled.
Yeah, well, looks like it's cancelled because M. We'll make sure that Thornton will follow suit. Sure, everybody else is back up. But hey, Thornton, you know, like camaraderie and whatnot, like die with your teammates and everything that happens like that. And Lightside, honestly, like, it just feels like everything happened in a flash. The game was pretty even for like 5 or 6 minutes. And as soon as they pulled the trigger for that first fight towards the Dragon, it almost felt that they haven't let their foot off the pedal, and 42 Gaming doesn't have a lot of answers in their comp to that.
Yeah, and I think we can bring it back to draft. I didn't really like 42 Gaming's draft that much, but in the end, it did come down to the Lightside just kind of getting early lead with a composition that in at least the Silas lane shouldn't get early lead. So the fact that he got an early lead made it very strong. Then Draven also got an early lead, and we all know what happens when he gets an early lead. Now there's an engage here in bot lane.
Yeah, but the teleport is on. Painful has it ominous. He will be tanky. He will be healthy. What Kabir will not, because Kabir will give one more to Nidget. That Draven is farming. These axes are whirling, and the death will come because chaos has ensued towards the bottom tier 2, and it will all be for the side of Lightside, who are still continuing. Fruity Fresh is next on the targeting, and he's next on the chopping block. Slowed down, even sending the redemption offensively, and Fruity Fresh will be abducted into death. Back to the fountain. It is a banger, but it's all LLS and nothing for 42 Gaming in this game.
Oh, well, I think that might be game. I mean, there are respawns coming in 10 seconds. I think LLS going for the end here could be a little bit greedy, but then again, what is 42 Gaming going to do? They have Cobbs on the respawn. They have Kabir coming in as well. I don't think they can hold on. I think this is going to be it. LLS are taking the win over 42 Gaming. They're actually BMing a little bit here as well, trying to get some kills around the fountain, but they do end up winning the game, and they solidify their position moving into playoffs.
And honestly, man, like, what a showing has it been from the side of LLS? Like, just to flex out all of your power picks. You pick a Draven, that's a huge sign of confidence. You pick a Silas, even though you still pick a blind, you have counters, and they decide to pivot that Kaisa into the mid lane, but they still win. Like, what can you do? And it's actually maybe a little bit scary because things are perfect from the side of LLS here in this matchup.
Yeah, so this game was very, very well played by LLS. Now, I think people are going to bed very soon. It's quite late. We definitely made this a very long one. So I think production will not want us to just, ramble on for another 30 minutes. So I think we should wrap it up. I did very much enjoy casting with you, man. It has been absolutely great. And I just want to say thanks as well here to the NLC stream for allowing us to get our first cast in, because this was amazing. We had a lot of viewers just like chatting away. I was like, keep an eye on it. And yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm happy to be here as well. But, well, happy for LLS, and LLS have something for us just chirping around, and we will share that right away with you. Word mumble. So, yeah.
Nah, that's unreal. Nobody guessed that one.
Yes, people did on the first one.
Wait, what?
Every single picture is a skin, but you only have to guess the champion.
Okay.
You get one guess per zoom. So every time you guess incorrectly, it zooms out. You
Yes.
get points based on when you guessed.
So 5 points you can.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But the first one should be really, really zoomed out.
Yeah, you'll see.
Zoomed in.
It's a Shurima thing. It's pretty sure because it looks like the Shurima.
Oh, I think I know that one.
Azir, maybe?
Isn't it Seraphine?
I just say Leona.
That doesn't help me.
Can you move it a bit to the right? No, okay. Kale?
That's like the core. Is that Sarah?
It feels like it is a mountain on the left side. Iolia?
Incorrect.
Oh, it's Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai.
What is this? I don't know, Veigar.
Lilia. What is that? Hekarim?
Incorrect.
Nah, bro.
Maokai. No, Nautilus. Wait, don't say. Is it Cho'Gath? That's Cho'Gath.
Let's say Shogath.
Shogas.
Cho'Gath. Ah, that's Cho'Gath.
Oh, it's Cho'Gath.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, that's not Shogath. I want my money back.
Something fire, brand, maybe? Alistar, Infernal Alistar, I don't know.
Boy, is that another Cho'Gath skin?
Is it strong to guess?
No, I don't wanna guess But if it is Cho'Gath and I'm not guessing it now, now you're such a dickhead.
Oh, okay, we have the head.
Mordekaiser.
Mordekaiser.
What? What is that champ?
It's got 2 legs. Doesn't narrow down anything.
Is it a Dota champ?
Malphite?
I mean, I'll just go Aesel because it's the dragon, man. Brand. Ah, that's the body. Well, this gave me nothing.
Who is this? I have no idea who this is.
I don't know, let's guess Brand again. Maybe it works the second time. Ah, it is Wukong.
Yes, it is Wukong.
It kind of looks like the Wukong skin, the fire skin.
Wukong, yeah, okay.
Ah, Wukong.
Yeah.
It's Wukong. Oh no.
Wukong.
Oh my, it's Wukong. It's his belt. There's no way. It's his belt.
What is this? Pulse fire or something?
Jace. I'm just gonna start with Jace.
Senna.
Senna. Senna.
I want to say Rumble.
It's Heimerdinger. What?
Like, it's a Protect skin, I think. Don't think Leona is a Protect skin.
Leona. Project Leona.
I'll say Echo.
Volibear.
Jinx.
Yeah.
It was Jinx. What?
Jinx, maybe?
Jinx.
It's Jinx.
Jinx.
No, it's Jinx.
Jinx.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Jinx.
Yeah, you're right.
What? This looks like a in real life picture of like someone's tree. I don't know, like this.
How are we supposed to guess with this?
I go with Ramos.
Riven.
Blitzcrank. That's 100% Blitzcrank. It's Graves. No, wait, it's Firefighter Tristana.
Graves. Tristana. It's Firefighter Tristana.
I think it's Tristana.
Tristana?
Let's just go. It's like Tristana again.
Tristana.
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 Yes. It's Firefighter Tristan.
Oh, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
That was good.
These ears. Is it Zoe? This said.
I mean, looks Kai'Sa maybe?
So it's Star Guardian or Star something?
Vex. Ah, I was pretty sure I was smurfing.
Syndra.
Zaya.
Zaya.
What?
Shurikens. Female. Akali.
It's a Kali.
Akali?
What? Like there's no way. There is no. It's not a Kali. Like what? It's not a Kali. What?
Oh, it's the big splash. Like it's a KDA splash art.
It is one champion in the splash.
Well, that is Ari.
I don't know, Katarina.
LeBlanc, man. Is it LeBlanc? What is that? Ah, Vex.
Lux.
I will guess LeBlanc.
What would you like to guess now?
I can't.
Yeah.
I legit can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is Star Nemesis Morgana.
Wait, what?
Oh, didn't even recognize them.
Yeah.
They all look the same.
I had a lot of champion in my head, but
Yeah.
def not Morgana. That is a bullet falling.
That sword. Does not ring a bell at all. Aatrox. Aatrox?
Oh, now I'm lost.
Who has that spear?
Nearly.
Jarvan? You sure?
Yes.
What? Who else would be holding a spear? Sejuani.
Is it Hecarim?
And I recognize this, but I don't know.
There's a mount.
Pantheon.
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 Yeah.
I mean, it's a spear.
Oh, it's a spear, I think. Is it Pantheon? Pantheon. Pantheon.
Oh, it's Pantheon.
Ah, Pantheon.
Yeah. Stop being good on the
Yeah, obviously it's a spear. Like what? Now my brain, like why? It's like it's the most obvious one.
Oh my god, that one was actually obvious. That one was obvious.
I have no clue.
Oh, Rumble.
Rumble.
What other Space Group skins are there? I actually don't know.
Lulu.
There's a disco over here. There's some happy champion. Is it a Mumu like going on mood or something?
Yes, but I'm just saying because of the disco thing, Seraphine.
Oh, it's Seraph Queen.
It's a staff. It seems like it is a staff. Who has a staff? Veigar.
Okay, so if I think like this, Lux has so many skins in the game that potentially it would be a pretty good chance that it's her. I'll guess Lux.
That's correct.
Yeah. Lux. Maybe it's Lux.
It's Lux.
Lux.
Looks.
Lux.
Yes.
For sure.
This could be any spot shot of this skin line. I'll say Lux.
Yeah. You're right.
It's on the top left.
Yep.
It wasn't even the stuff in the first one. The first one just had the fucking.
No, but you see like order or stuff. Like, oh, like the first one.
Oh, the first one you didn't see anything. You just saw the meep, the dancing thingy.
Yeah.
Like what?
It's true.
That's so unfair. Ah, cat.
Oh, who has a cat?
It's an Halloween skin, but which one is it?
Senna. No. Don't know.
Every single time I want to say Syndra. So Syndra.
This is Fiora. Who has a cat? I thought it was like Headhunters. Oh no, like a principal or whatever it's called, Fiora, but...
Oh, okay. Or, that doesn't help me.
What? Like there's a cat in my face and I have no clue. It's like I can't have seen this skin in my life.
Is it even a cat? Is it, I don't know, any?
Nah, but it's not possible. You're kidding me. You can't do that to me. Okay, just zoom out. I won't even flip. Nah, that's unreal.
Oh, it's Nidalee.
Nidalee. Nah, that's not possible.
Ah, maybe it's the bewitching Nidalee skin. Oh, that's Nidalee.
Then it's Nidalee. Nidalee.
No way!
Oh, Nidalee.
This is Nidalee. Nidalee.
That's a good skin.
It really is.
Huh?
There's birds, there's water. Maybe it's like... This is news reporter Jana.
I know, Heimerdinger.
There's some weird ass skin.
Let's just go with Sejuani.
I'm just getting more stupid by the second I think about it. Gangplank. I don't know. Ari.
Oh, it's Ori. Ari.
Ori.
Ari?
Oh. Aoi.
Oh, Ori, I think.
Those tales are so confusing. I mean, I guess...
You guessed Ari 2 times before. You're like, yeah, now it has to be Ari. And then you see this and you don't guess it. Well, unfortunate, Butchie. That one was unfortunate.
Kind of looks like Warwick's hand. I want to insta-guess Fresh, but I feel like maybe it's too big. I'll say Fresh.
Fresh. Well, that's a scam. That's legit Lantern.
I'll say Cartus.
Yeah, but that's not a part of the champ. At least it is, but what?
Cartus.
Cartus.
Is it Karthus?
Is this the champion?
What?
Is this the champion?
Yes. You can now see about 60% of the skin.
Yeah, but I still can't see what the champion is. No, I don't know.
You want me to zoom out?
If you can, but I'm not gonna see what it
One
is.
more. Here we go. That's the last hint. You can now see about 90% of the skin.
Well, with 100% I can't guess, I believe.
So it's like one of them, like Underworld maybe skins. What about? No, it's not Wukong. It's not. Maybe it's not an Underworld skin actually. It's like one of the haunted skins. Fiddlesticks.
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 This is the full splash art.
Oh, it's fresh.
No.
Wait, what?
This is spectral fiddlesticks.
What?
The last one.
Fiddlesticks.
What?
Yeah, it's the blue skin.
Yes, What? You actually got that right.
Easy.
That's huge.